Die war Geschichte der Ninja flustert im Dunkeln. Stell dir Falgens vor. Es ist ein Mondlos Nacht im Japan des 16. Jahrhunderts. Ein feudal Schlaft in seiner Festung want sich sicher hinter Steinmauern bewaffnet in Wacken. Dock oben bewegt sich ein Gestalt über die Dachsiegel. So lautlos wie fallender Schnee. Dieser schattenhaft Krieger trägt kein Banner. Kundig keine Herausforderung an. Suck keinen Rum. Im Morgengrauen wird die Festung im Chaos versinken. Ihr Geheimnis gestelen. Ihr werdet die Gung Geschwach sein. Niemand wird genau wissen, wie es dazu kam. Dies ist die Welt der Ninja. De Shinobi. De Schattenkrieger de feudalen Japans. Seit über vier Jahrhunderten beflügeln dies geheimnisvollen Gestalten die Fantasy der Menschen weltweit. Du hast sie in Filmen gesehen, wie sie sternformig klingen mit unglaublicher Precision werfen. In Rochwoken verschwinden wie spinnen Wanda Erkleman. Du hast sie in Videospielen gespielt, sie in Zeichentrickfilmen gesehen vielleicht sogar ihr Kampfkunst gut. Wir waren die wahre Ninjas? Weg mit dem Hollywood Zauber, den Anime Superkräften, den schwarzen Pyjamas den mystischen Handzeichen. Was bleit übrig. Die Antwort ist so banal wie faszinierend. Die wahre Ninjas waren kein übernatürlichen Attentater, sondern hochqualifiziert Spezialisten für Spionage, Infiltration Guerilla Kriegsführung. Sie waren die Spezialeinheiten seit entwickelten Techniken. Die der modernen Militärgeheimdienst anerkennen respektieren Word. Hut haben begeben uns auf ein Ries durch die Geschichte dieser Schattenkrieger. Wir erforschen ihre Sprung im Chaos der mittelalterlichen Japans, beobachten die Entwicklung ihrer Techniken über Generationen hinweg, erleben ihr großen Triumphe ihren Niedergang. Wir besuchen die Bergprovinzen, in denen Ninja-Clans ihr tadlichen Kunst perfektionierten. Wir untersuchen ihr Werkzeug Methoden, trennen historisch Fakten, von Jahrhundertelten Mythen Legenden. Wir verfolgen, wie echte Ninjas Legenden werden. Wie sich diese Legenden über den Globus verbreiteten unser heutiges Verständnis von Spionage, Kampfkunst der japanischen Kultur prägten, von den rockenden Ruinen der Bürgerkriegs bis zum Glanz Hollywoods. Von handgeschriebenen Lehrschriften bis zu milliardenschweren Franchises. Dies ist die vollständige Geschichte der Ninja. Lernen Sie sich also Zurich. Schließen Sie die Augen, wenn Sie möchten. Lassen Sie Ihr Gedenken ins feudal Japan schweifen. Wir schreiben das Jahr 1560. Das Land ist vom Bürgerkrieg zerrissen. In den Bergen, in verborgenen Tälern, die nur einheimischen bekannt sind. Bilden Familien ihr Kinder in Kunst in US, die zu Legenden machen werden. Unsere Geschichte beginnt nicht mit einem berühmten Namen oder einer dramatischen Schlacht, sondern mit einer Frage. Wie konnte in einem Land der Samurai, die über alles stellten, ein Kriegercast entstehen, für die der Erfolg der Mission über allem stand? Die Antwort liegt in Japans Geschichte, in seiner Geographie, im Wesen der mittelalterlichen Kriegsführung. Die Ninja entstanden nicht aus dem Nix. Sie entwickelten sich allmählich, praktische als Reaktion auf real Bedürfnis, konkret Umstand. Die Ninja zu verstehen, müssen wir zunächst die Welt verstehen, die sie hervorgebracht hat. Beginnen wir ganz am Anfang, inmitten von Japans turbulenter Vergangenheit. Kapitel 1, die Zeit des Schattens. Die Geburtsstunde der verdeckten Kriegsführung in Japan. Lang beaver das Wort Ninja in die Japanese Sprache Einzug hielt, wurden die Grundlagen für ihren Beruf gelegt. Unsere Geschichte beginnen mit gentlichen Sinn in der Heian Zeit, 794 to 1185 NCHR. Als der Japanese Kaiserhof von der eleganten Hauptstadt Kyoto US regiert. Es war ein Zeitalter der Poesie, der Verfeinerung aufwendiger Hofzeremonien praktischer Zeitinnerben. Doch unter dieser kultivierten Oberfläche verschieben sich die Machtverhältnisse. Waren der Adel in der Hauptstadt gedicht verfasst, entstand in den Provinzen ein Kriegercast. Lokal Machthaber stellten Privatarmeen auf. Am Land zu schützen Streitigkeiten bei Zulegen. Dies frühen Samurai waren Raumaner, weit entfernt von den kultivierten Kriegern der späteren Legenden. Sie kämpften zu für mit Pfeil Bogen, regelten Streitigkeiten mit Ewalt, UND Hoffen nach UND nach mehr Machten. ALS der Hof Kontrollieren Konnte. In dieser Zeit Strom militarisches Wissen AUS China nach Japan. Buddhistisch Manch, handle UND diplomatisch Gesandtschaften brachten nicht nur religios Lehren, sondern auch militarisch Abhandlungen. Darunter befand sich Sinensis, die Kunst des Kriegs, verfasst 500 VCHR, in China. Dieser antike Text betant Tostum, Informationsbeschaffung UND den Sieg und Kampf. Jede Kriegsführung basiert auf Tostum. Sinensis schrieb, wenn du feig bist, tausch unverhegeit vor. Wenn du aktiv bist, sei untätig. Diese Ideen faszinierten die japanischen Militärführer. Die Samurai entwickelten ihren eigenen Kodex. Den spatteren Bushido. Den Weg des Kriegers. Den direkten Kampf UND die Personlicher betant. Doch einigen Führer erkannten auch den Wort von Sinensis listiger Vorgehensweise. Treffens wie gleichstark Armeen in offener Feldschlacht aufeinander. Sieg meist diejene Gemeinschaft der besseren Aufklärung. Skian ein Bergen und Ember. Gelang manchmal eine Infiltration, wo eine Belagerung scheitert. Japans Geographie spielt eine entscheidende Rolle. Das Land ist extrem gebirgig. Rund 75% der Fläche AUS-Stylen Hügeln UND Bergen. Dieses Terrain schuf isolierte Teile UND Regionen, die ihr eigenen, unverwechselbaren Kulturen entwickelten. Reisen zwischen den Regionen waren schwierig. UND die Kontrolle der Berggebiet von weit entfernten Hauptstädten AUS war nahezu unmöglich. Diese isolierten Bergregionen wurden zur Wiege der Ninja-Kultur. In diesen Bergen letten die Yamabushi, Bergasteten, die ein synkretische Religion namens Shigendo praktizierten. Diese religiosen Anhänger, die Buddhismus, Shintoismus UND alte Volksglauben miteinander verbanden, letten in der Wildnis, absolvierten ein Hartskörperliches Training UND entwickelten außergewöhnlich Übelsverhegeten. Sie kannten die Bergfade, kannten das Wetter vorhersagen, kannten Hauptpflanzen UND Riestan auf ihren Pilgerfahrten frei zwischen verschiedenen Gebieten. Ob die Yamabushi die Entwicklung der Ninja direkt beeinflussen, ist unter Historikern umstritten. Doch die Überschneidungen sind bedeutend. Beide Gruppen benötigten ähnliche Fähigkeiten. Beide operierten in Bergregionen UND beide letten außerhalb der üblichen sozialen Hierarchie. Zumindest bewiesen die Yamabushi, dass Individuen durch systematisches Training unter harten Bedingungen bemerkenswert Fähigkeiten entwickeln können. Die Späthandzeit war von zunehmenden gewalttätigen Machtkämpfen geprägt. Der Gemkrieg, 1180–1185, zwischen den Taira, UND Minamoto-Clans war besonders brutal UND in die MIT der Errichtung der ersten Shogunats Japans durch die Minamoto, einer Militärregierung, die neben dem Kaiserhof herrscht UND diesen schließlich in den Schatten stellt. In diesem Krieg kamen in großem Umfang sogenannte Proton-Ninja-Taktiken zum Einsatz. Nachtlich Überfall, Verkleidungen, die Verbreitung falscher Informationen UND der Einsatz unkonventioneller Krieger für Spezialmissionen. Ein berühmter eines Dieses Kriegs betrifft den Krieger Minamoto no Yoshitsune, der einen Wegalsigen Überstunsangriff von einer vermeintlich unüberwindlichen Klipp AUS führt, die Taira-Truppen zu besiegen. Der Angriff war unter anderem deshalb erfolgreich, weil Yoshitsune auf ortskundig Führer zurückgriff, Männer, die kein Samurai waren, sich aber dort zurückfanden, wo Samurai nicht weiterkamen. Dieses Muster sollte sich in der gesamten japanischen Militärgeschichte wiederholen. Konventionell Streitkraft, unterstützt von lokalen Spezialisten MIT einzigartigen Kenntnissen UND Fähigkeiten. Nach dem Gemkrieg hat Japans war eine Militärregierung. Dr. Frieden blieb aus das Land sehr viel in Herrschaftsgebiet, die von verschiedenen Kriegscharen, den sogenannten Daimyo, kontrolliert wurden. Diese regionalen Fürsten unterhielten ihre eigenen Armeen, UND bekämpften sich häufig. Der Kaiserhof existiert war weiter, besaß aber kaum noch Macht. Die Situation hielt MIT gelegentlichen Phasen relativer Stabilität bis zum Ende des 16. Jahrhunderts. Im 14. Jahrhundert waren der Nambakucha-Zeit, spaltet sich Japan in zwei rivalisieren Kaiserhof, einen nördlichen UND einen südlichen, die beide ihr Legitimität beanspruchten. Das Land versank in einem Bürgerkrieg. In diesem Chaos reicht konventionell militärstark, nicht aus, die Daimyo benötigten Informationen über die Bürgungen UND Plain de Feinde. Sie Brockton Möglichkeiten, die Nachstabilien defined zu unterbrechen, und ihr Hauptarmin zu riskieren. Sie Brockton Spezialisten, die durch Heimlichkeit erreichen konnten, was MIT Reiner stark nicht möglich war. In diesem Umfeld erworben, sich bestimmt Provinzen den Ruf, Fahish Freischarler Herverzubringen. Zwei Provinzen, EGA und Koga, wurden insbesondere für verdeckte Operationen bekannt. Dies benachbarten, durch Gebergeschätzten Regionen Namen strategisch Positionen nahe, der Hauptstadt ein, bewarten sich aber ein beträchtlich unabhängig von der Zentralgewalt. Die Provinz EGA war fast vollständig von Bergen umgeben und, nur schmal Passé boten Zugang. Dies Niederlich Festung schützt die Provinz, vor leichten Invasionen. Die lokalen Samurai, niederrangig Samurai, die eigens Land bewirtschaften, organisierten sich nicht unter einem einzigen mächtigen Lynchern, sondern in Bündnissen anhören gleichranger Familien. Dies ungewöhnlich politische Struktur, in der die Machtverdeltstadt konzentriert war, prägte die Entwicklung der Militarkultur von EGA maßgeblich. Koga, obwohl etwas zugänglicher, weislich Merkmal auf. Bergiges Gelände, einflussreich lokale Familien und beträchtliche Autonomie. Beide Provinzen waren für feudal Verhaltensarm. Das bergige Terrain erschwert die Landwirtschaft. Die Bewohner benötigten zusätzlich Einkommensquellen. Und der Verkauf spezialisierter Militärdienstleistungen und wohlhabender Daimyo sichert ihnen dieses Einkommen. Die Familien in diesen Regionen begannen systematisch, Fähigkeiten für die irreguläre Kriegsführung zu entwickeln. Sie trainierten Überlebenstechniken im Gebirge und die Navigation. Sie studierten Strategien zur Verteidigung ihrer zerklüfteten Heimat gegen große Armeen. Sie bauten Spionagenetzwerk innerhalb ihrer Provinzen auf und weiteten dies nach und nach auf benachbart Regionen aus, bei Konflikten hörten Daimyo von außerhalb von Hege und Koga mitunter Spezialisten aus diesen Provinzen für Missionen an. Die Tarnung, Aufklärung oder Infiltration erforderten. Dies war noch nicht die Wahl, entwickelt Ninja-Tradition. Dies sollte später folgen, doch die Grundlagen waren gelegt. Geographische Isolation fordert unabhängig. Wirtschaftlich Notwendigkeit trieb die Spezialisierung waren und der militärische Bedarf, belohnt die Entwicklung von Fähigkeiten für verdeckte Operationen. Das Wort Shinobi taucht bereits in japanischen Dokumenten aus dem 8. Jahrhundert auf, bedeutet aber ursprünglich lediglich Äußeren oder sich verbergen. Allgemeiner Begriff, die auf viele Situationen anwendbar waren. Die spezifisch Bedeutung eines verdeckten Agenten, entwickelt, sich allmählich über die Jahrhundert und kristallisiert, sich erst heraus. Als der Beruf, selbst klar definiert wird. Mitte 15. Jahrhunderts hatten sich die Provinzen Iga und Koga einen besonderen Ruf erworben. Wenn Daimos Informationen benötigten, Bergen infiltriert oder heikel Missionen außerhalb der Regeln konventioneller Kriegsführung durchgeführt werden müssen, wann sich zunehmend den Agenten aus diesen Provinzen. Die Bergfamilien von Iga und Koga entwickelten sich zu professionellen verdeckten Agenten, obwohl ihnen noch die formelle Organisation und der legendäre Ruf fehlten, die sie später erlangen sollten. Dann folgt der Krieg, 467 to 1477. Der Kyoto Verwestit und Japans Sengoku Zeit, das Zeitalter der Kriegführenden Reich, einleitet. In den folgenden 150 Jahren wurde Japan von fast ununterbrochenen Kriegen erschüttert, in denen die Daimos die Vorherrschaft kämpften. Das Land sehr viel in Dutzend unabhängig Herrschaftsgebiet. Jeds Word von einem Kriegsschirm regiert. Jeds befand sich im Krieg mit einigen Nachbarn und war mit anderen verbundet. Allianzen wechselten ständig. Verat war und der Tatsortnung. Vertrauen war selten. In diesem chaotischen Umfeld explodiert der Bedarf an verdeckten Agenten. Jeder Daimyo benötigt Informationen über die stark und die Bürgungen seiner Feind. Jede Bergbelagerung kann von Infiltration und die Sabotage profitieren. Jede politisch und verdert geheime Kommunikation und die verdeckte Aktionen. Die Fähigkeiten, die Familien EJ und Koga entwickelt hatten, wurden plötzlich nicht nur nützlich, sondern unerlässlich. Die Zeit der Ninja war gekommen. Im Rausch und Chaos der Bergkriegsplagen Japans, in den Verzweifelten Kämpfen der Sengoku Zeit, Errichten die Schatten Krieger ihren Hochpunkt. Übergenerationen entwickelt Techniken werden, zu ausgeklugelten Systemen verfindet. Gelegenheitsjobs bei einzelnen Arbeitgebern wandelten, sich zu professionellen Diensten vergroßmacht. Lokalfamilien in abgelegenen Bergprovinzen wurden zu Legenden, deren Ruhm sich schließlich in der ganzen Welt verbreitet. Doch zunächst wollen wir dies Berge besuchen, dies Familien kennenlernen und die Verstehen. Wie es sich von Kriegern aus der Provinz zu den gefürchtetsten und die geheimnisvollsten Kämpfern der japanischen Geschichte entwickelten. Begeben wir uns nach Eige und die Koga, dem Land der Ninja. Kapitel 2, Berge des Mysteriums. Die Clans von Eige und die Koga. Wollt man das der Ninja-Kultur im feudalen Japan finden, reist man in zwei Provinzen im Zentrum von Honshu, Japans Hauptinsel. Von Kyoto aus, führt die Reise nach Südosten durch zunehmend unwegsames Gelände bis zur Provinz Iga, eingebettet in ein vollständig von Bergen umgebenes Becken. Oder man reist nach Osten in die Provinz Koga, die durch weite Berge von Iga getrennt ist. Dies beiden Regionen, isoliert und die doch strategisch günstig gelegen, wurden zur legendären Heimat der Shinobi. Stellen Sie sich vor, Sie stehen im Meer auf einem Gebirgspass, und die blicken hinab in die Provinz Iga. Sagen wir im Jahr 1550. Unter uns erstreckt sich ein Tal. Grün von Riesfeldern und die Waldern. Dort setzt im kleinen Dörfern. Schmal Pfad Schlangeln, sich zwischen den Siedlungen hindurch. Fluss glitzern in der Sonne. Es workt friedlich, landwirtschaftlich geprägt, gewöhnlich. Doch hinter dieser gewöhnlichen Fassade verbirgt sich etwas Außergewöhnliches. Fast jede Familie in diesem Tal besitzt Fähigkeiten, die außerhalb dieser Berge selten und die geheimnisvoll sind. Die Kinder, die auf den Feldern spielen, können sich lautlos durch die Wälder bewegen. Die Born, die Riesfelder bestellen, können fast jede Oberfläche erklimmen und die fast jedes Schloss nacken. Der Dorfwurster, die Angelegenheiten des Dorfs bespricht, verfügt über ein Netzwerk von Informanten, das bis in fern Provinzen reicht. Dies ist Iga. Und die Dies sind sein Bewohner. Familien, die verdeckt Operationen zu ihrer Spezialität, ihrem Handwerk, ihrer Lebensweise gemacht haben. Die Politisch-Struktur von Iga waren der Sengoku-Zeit waren junlich, vielleicht sogar einzigartig in Japan. Waren die meisten Provinzen von einem einzigen mächtigen Daimyo mit absoluter Autorität beherrscht wurden. Word Iga von einem Bund von etwa 60-70 Samurai-Familien regiert. Es handelt sich hierbei nicht hochrangiges Leid, sondern Landbesitz in Krieger, die ihr Güter selbst bewirtschaften. Ihr Schlachten selbst schlugen und entschieden gemeinsam in Ratten treffen, anstatt sich einem einzelnen Lynchern zu unterwerfen. Drei Familien dominierten diesen Bund, bekannt als die drei Häuser von Iga. Die Hattori, die Mamwa und die Fujibayashi. Jede Family kontrolliert unterschiedliche Regionen der Provinz und die befliegt Netzwerk untergeordneter Familien. Dahin kann die absolut Vorherrschaft über die anderen für sich beanspruchen. Dies macht Gleichgewicht eine politische Kultur, die sich deutlich von den hierarchischen Strukturen der feudalen Japans unterscheidet. Der Hattori-Clan, dessen Berühmtestes Mitglied Hattori Hanzo sein sollt, wurden in später noch genauer kennenlernen. Stammt sprunglich aus der benachbarten Provinz Makawa. Etabliert sich aber in Iga. Sie entwickelten besonders ausgeklügeltes Spionagenetzwerk, und die dienten schließlich dem Tokugawa-Clan, einer der mächtigsten Familien Japans. Der Aufstieg der Hattori von Provinzagenten zu Vertrauten der mächtigsten Shoguns des Landes verdeutlicht, welche hohen Ninja erreichen konnten. Die Momoki-Family kontrolliert das westliche Iga und die galt als Spezialistin für psychologische Kriegsführung und die Tauschungsoperationen. Laut späteren Überlieferungen, die Skepsis betrachtet wurden sollten, unterhielt Momochi Sandu, ein Anführer des 16. Jahrhunderts, drei verschiedene Wansitze, und die Gab, sich als drei verschiedene Personen aus, sein Feind über seinen Aufenthaltsort und die seinen Aktivitäten zu verwehren. Ob dies Geschichten nun wörtlich zu nehmen sind oder nicht, sie verdeutlichen einen wesentlichen Aspekt der Momochi-Philosophie. Die Realität ist verhandelbar, Die Identität taktisch das Aussehen, KNDLS einsetzt worden. Der Fujiashi-Clan dominiert das nordliche Iga. Im folgenden Jahrhundert verfasst ein Nachkommen der Fujiashi das Bansanukai. Das Umfassens Ninja-Handbuch aus der Feudalzeit. Dies beweist, dass die Fujibayashi nicht nur praktizierend, sondern auch Theoretiker waren. Die das Verstritt wissen mehrerer Familien Generationen systematisieren aufzeichnen konnten. Neben diesen drei großen Familien bildeten Dutzend weiter den Dachverband der Iga. Darunter die Narita, Kuroda, Ogawa, viel mehr. Jede Family kontrollierte lokales Territorium, unterhielt ihr eigen Kampftrupp, entwickelt spezialisiert Wissen Gab Techniken innerhalb der Family von Generation zu Generation weiter. Dies Mehrfamilienstruktur bedeutet, dass die Ninja-Fähigkeiten von Iga redundant verteilt waren. Der Verlust einer Family bedeutet, nicht das Ende des gesamten Systems. Verschiedene Familien zeichneten sich durch unterschiedliche Fähigkeiten aus, ein Family bracht die besten Infiltrationsspezialisten hervor, ein ander die besten Geheimdienstanalisten, ein dritt die besten Kampfausbilder. Wenn Iga von externen Daimon angehört wird, kann die Family Mission spezifisch Teams zusammenstellen auf das Fachwissen mehrerer Familien zurückgreifen. Die Familien trainierten unerforderlich. Gas schwieriges Gelände bot nederlich Trainingsmöglichkeiten. Kinder lernten, Style hang die Walder zu bewältigen. In kalten Gebirgsflüssen zu schwimmen auf Baume Felswand zu klettern. Dies für das Leben in einer rauen Umgebung entwickelten Fähigkeiten waren direkt für verdeckte Operationen nützlich. Die Bergfähig, die eifrig Kinder im Alltag erlernten, waren dieselben Fähig. Die Watchsehen Ninja nutzten, unbemerkt feindliches Gebiet einzudringen. Jenseits der Berge in der Provinz Koga entwickelt sich ein ähnliche Kultur mit ihrem ganz eigenen Charakter. Koga war etwas zugänglicher als Iga. Offener für Kontakt Einfluss von außen starker mit der Politischen Welt der Sengoku-Zeit verbunden. Die 53 Familien von Koga bildeten ihren eigenen Bund. Und dessen Spitze bedeuten Clans, wie die Machisuki Kaji standen. Einige Überlieferungen behaupten Koga, Iga Ninja, hatten unterschiedliche Ansätze verfolgt. Angeblich konzentriert sich Iga auf Direktaktionen, Infiltration, Sabotage wenn nötig, Attentat. Koga hingegen soll sich auf Informationsbeschaffung, strategische Planung, Einflussoperationen spezialisiert haben. Historisch lassen sich dies unterschiedlichen schwer belegen. Möglicherweise handelt es sich später Konstruktionen versuch. Etwas zu kategorisieren abzugrenzen. Das in Wirklichkeit fließender sich überschneidender war. Die Charakterisierung vermittelt jedoch den Eindruck, dass Iga Koga zwar Ähnlichkeiten aufweisen, aber dennoch unterschiedliche Identitäten möglicherweise auch philosophisch Ansätze bewerten. Die Beziehung zwischen Iga Koga war komplex. Geografisch nahe kulturell Ähnlichkeit schufen nederliche Verbindungen. Familien errieten untereinander. Techniken Wissen wurden ausgetauscht. Manchmal arbeiteten sie bei Missionen für externe Aufträge zusammen. Denne konkurrierten sie dieselben Auftrag, bewahrten sich einen starken Stolz auf ihr Provinzidentität standen, sich diligentlich in Konflikten gegenüber. Die Isolation beider Provinzen war stark schwach zugleich. Die Berge schützten sie vor zerfälligen Invasionen ermöglichten ihren konföderierten Regierungen das Überleben, waren der Großteil Japans unter die Herrschaft machtiger die Majoriet. Doch Isolation bedeutet auch begrenzt Ressourcen. Wenn großmächtigen sie vorgingen, konnten die Berge, die ihnen Schutz gebeten hatten, zur Fall werden. Die Wirtschaft beider Provinzen hing maßgeblich von ihren spezialisierten Militärdiensten ab. Das gebirgige Gelände erschwert die Landwirtschaft im großen Stil. Die Bevölkerung von Iga Koga konnte nicht allein durch Landwirtschaft ernährt werden. Der Verkauf der Dienst qualifizierter Agenten und Wohlhaben Dimos assured ein wichtiges Zusatzeinkommen. Junge Männer einige Frauen aus diesen Provinzen reisten in fern Regionen, arbeiteten für verschiedene Arbeitsper, sammelten Erfahrung, verdienten Geld Kurten schleißlich Wissen Ressourcen in ihr Heimat Zurich. So entstand ein Professional Kultur. Erfolg erfordert Kompetenz. Arbeitsbesollten Ergebnis. Nicht nur Einsatz. Feldgeschlagen Missionen bedeuten kein Bezelung einen Rufschäden. De sich auf Zukunft Janstelungen auswirken konnte. Anders als die Samurai, deren Status unabhängig von ihren tatsächlichen Fähigkeiten bestand, müssen sich die Ninja durch Koga immer wieder beweisen. Dieser Selektionsdruck führt zu ständigen Verbesserungen ihrer Techniken ihrer Ausbildung. Die Dorfer dieser Provinzen dienten als umfassend Unterstützungssystem für verdeckte Operationen. Nicht jeder war im Feldeinsatz. Die meisten Menschen führten ein normales Leben als born, Handwerker oder Handler. Doch fast jeder besaß Relevanz wissen leistet seinen Beitrag. Born kannten das Gelände, genau kannten from sofort. Handler, die auf Handelsreisen waren, sammelten Informationen aus anderen Regionen. Durch der koordinierten Informationsnetzwerk, pflegten die Beziehungen zu ihren Arbeitgebern. Die Gesamtgemeinschaft bildet eine Infrastruktur. Die Spezialisten unterstützt. Die eigentlichen Missionen durchführten. Heiligstätten Tempel erfüllten vielfältig Funktionen. Berge wie heißen Koyasen, Heimat buddhistischer Kloster, waren neutrals Gebiet, auf dem sich verschiedene Fraktionen sicher treffen konnten. Die religiös Bedeutung dieser Orte schützt vor Kriegshandlungen. Ein Angriff auf einen bedeutenden Tempel oder ein Kloster konnte die religiösen Organisationen gegen einen aufbringen, was die meisten Daimal vermeiden wollten. Ninja konnten diese Fluchtsorten nutzen, Kontakt zu treffen, Informationen auszutauschen oder sich bei Bedarf zu verstecken. Manch Ninja tarnten sich sogar als manch oder Yamabushi, sich frei bewegen keinen Verdacht erregen zu müssen. Die Ausbildung von Koga war umfassend begann früh. Kinder einigten sich wissen, indem einfach in der Kultur aufwuchsen. Sie horten Geschichten von berühmten Missionen, lernten Techniken, indem watchten beobachten. Wären erlichten die Denkweise die Wörter Gemeinschaften. Die formelle Ausbildung begann mit etwa 7 oder 8 Jahren, fast körperliches Training, Kampfkunst, Überlebenstechniken akademisches Wissen. Mitte 6 Jahrhunderts, als sich die japanischen Bürgerkrieg verschärften, erreichten Koga ihren Hochpunkt. Ihr Agenten arbeiteten für Daimal im ganzen Land. Ruf verbreitet sich. Jeder wusste, dass Koga die besten Geheimagenten Japans hervorbrachten. Soldaten machten fürchten, beamten in Misstrauen, aber kamen der schätzten außerordentlich. Im Zeitalter der Kriegsführung war die Fähigkeit, die Pläne der Feinde zu kennen, seine Operationen heimlich zu storen Ziel zu erreichen, und die eigene Hauptarmee zu gefährden, von unskatzbarem Wort. Diese Fähigkeiten konnten über Sieg oder Niederlage entschieden. Doch Rufbarg Risiken. Als Feiger Ninjas gerieten Koga ins Visier von Angriffern. Ihr unabhängig, die durch das Konföderationssystem ihr Bergverteidigt, so sorgsam bewahrt hatten. Sagt die Aufmerksamkeit von einigern auf sich. Die ganz Japan beherrschen wollten. Der Erfolg, der Wohlstand bracht, Barg aufgefahren. In den 1570er 1580er Jahren, als der Kriegsführung oder Nobunaga der Vereinigung Japans immer nachher kam, kann es nicht dulden, dass sich unabhängige Provinzen wie der Unterwerfung verweigerten. Die Berge von die Provinz so lang beschützt hatten, sollten bald zum Schlachtfeld werden. Die Großprüfung der Ninja-Clans stand Beaver. Doch Beaver war zwischen Diocese entscheidenden Konflikts werden, wallen were besser versed in, was Ninjas eigentlich taten. Wie trainierten was so effektiv mat. Begeben were UNS in die Trainingsschalen auf die Bergfade von Koga, lernen, were die Techniken kennen, die legendären Ninjas von gewöhnlichen Kriegern unterschieden. Kapitel 3 Schatten schmieden, das Training 1 Ninjas. Stellen Sie sich ein Kind vor, das 1540 in der Provinz in ein Ninja-Family gebern wird. Vom ersten Momenten, in dem es laufen kann, beginnt seine Ausbildung in den Shinobi-Kunsten. Auch wenn dies nicht als solche erkennt. Verfolgen were die Entwicklung dieses Kinds über die Jar verstehen were, wie einem gewöhnlichen, Sogling ein Ausgewandlicher Kämpfer Word. Die Vorausbildung war alles andere als formell. Es war Spiel. Doch die Spiel, die Ninja-Kinder spielten, forderten Fähigkeiten. Die sie in ihrem Erwachsenen brachen wurden. Sie spielten Verstecken in den Walder lernten. Sich zu verstecken sich leis zu bewegen. Sie kletterten auf Baume entwickelten Kraft an Verständnis, für die Bürgung in der Höhe. Sie rannten durch die Hügel bauten Ausdauer auf. Sie schwammen in Gebirgsbachen junteten, sich in das Wasser. Dies waren kein Speziellen Ninja Bungen. Kinder spielten überall onlich. Daken Koga beobachten die Erwachsenen. Welch Kinder Begebung Zeiten. Forderten unauffällig die Genigen. Deren Talenti sich als nützlich erweisen konnten. Mit etwas 7 Jahren Beginn die formelle Ausbildung. Jedem Kind wurde ein Lehrer zugeteilt. Meist ein Familienmitglied, Vater, Onkel oder Alters Geschwisterkind. Dessen Entwicklung persönlich begleitet. Durch den individuellen Unterricht kann das Training in die Fähigkeiten die Persönlichkeit jedes Kinds angepasst werden. Ein Kind mit außergewöhnlicher Intelligenz konzentriert sich möglicherweise stärker auf Strategie Informationsanalyse. Ein Kind mit bemerkenswerter körperlicher Koordination legt den Schwerpunkt auf Infiltrations, Kampffertigkeiten. Ein anderes mit Talent für zwischenmenschliche Manipulation entwickelt Verkleidungs, Infiltrationsfäden. Körperliches Training bildet die Grundlage. Jeder Tag begann mit Laufen. Intensive Sprints zur Entwicklung von Explosivkraft. Dan Langierstrecken zum Aufbau von Ausdauer. Erwachsene Ninjas müssen täglich 50 Meter oder mehr durch schwieriges Gelände zurücklegen dabei wachsam handlungsfähig bleiben. Dies erfordert ein außergewöhnliche Fitness. Die sich über Jahre hinweg durch tägliches Training allmählich aufbaut. Sprunggebungen starten die Beine, verbesserten die Körperbeherrschung. Die Schule springen über immer höher Hindernis lernten. Maximal hohe zu erreichen gleichzeitig die Landung, so leis wie möglich zu gestalten. Sie upten Weitsprung über immer größer Abgrund, entwickelten die Fähigkeit. Hindernis schluchten zu überwinden. Die Landetechnik war entscheidend. Die Fähigkeit, den Aufprall lotlos abzufüttern, entschied über Erfolg oder Misserfolg. Das Klettertraining begann mit Rollen, niederlichen Oberflächen. Bomben mit Gitten Griffen Felschengen Gut Sickbaren Griffen. Zunehmendem Fortschritt meisterten, die Schüler immer glatterer, schwieriger Oberflächen, lernten schleißlich. Holzwand Steinwand minimalen Griffen zu erklimmen. Vorgeschrittene Schüler lernten. Schnell zu klettern auch aus Rüstung aufzusteigen. Die Geschicktesten konnten sogar im Dunkeln klettern Griff allen durch Tassen finden. Im Gleitschwickstraining wurden schmal Balken, Baumstamm verwendet, den Schülern beizubringen. Sich sicher auf Binkten Flatschen, wie Dachbaken oder schmalen Wanden zu bewegen. Dieses Training fordert außerdem die Rumpfmuskulatur, die Propriozeption. Also das Körpergefühl die Wahrnehmung von Körperposition Biegung im Raum. Ein Ninja, der in ein Berg eindringt, muss möglicherweise im Dunkeln über Dachbaken balancieren. Auf Deckenbaken steigen, während sich durch den Dachboden bewegt, oder in schmalen Bergmauern entlang. Guts Gleitschwitzt kann lebensrettend sein. Der Schwimmenterricht legt Wert auf Ausdauer, Vielseitigkeit. Die Schüler lernten verschiedenen Schwimmstil. Unterwasserschwimmen sich mit minimalem Kraftaufwand über Langier, Zeitraum über Wasser zu halten. Sie upten das Schwimmen in Kleidung, manchmal absichtlich beschwert. Das Schwimmen mit aus Rüstung das lotlos Verhalten im Wasser. Spezialtechniken werden gelehrt, wie man gegen die Strömung schwimmt taugt. Nicht entdeckt zu werden, Atemrohr benutzt, unter Wasser zu bleiben. Lotloses Bewegen erfordert Spezialtechniken. Die durch geduldiges Üben erlernt werden. Die Schüler lernten, auf den Zehenspitzen zu gehen jeden Fuss bewusst aufzusetzen. Nachdem sie die Stabilität der Untergrunds geprüft hatten. Sie upten, sich leis durch das Unterhol zu bewegen. Und die Vegetation rascheln zu lassen. Gerosklos Fußboden zu erberkern sich in schlafenden Vorbies zu sklichen. Und sie zu wecken. Diocese training voor der nicht naar die techniek. Sondern auch standage out samkeit. Jeed Bugum word bedakt. Jeds Jarash Wargenamen. Das Kampfsporttraining fast verschiedene Kampfsystem. Anders als die Samurai. Die sich hauptsächlich auf den berittenen Kampf mit Bogen. Schwert die Speer konzentrieren. Trainierten die Ninja für vielfältige Situationen. Sie erlernten den unbewaffneten Kampf, einschließlich Schlagen, Tritten, Werfen, gelenkablen Ringtechniken. Ziel war nicht Sport oder Vorführung, sondern praktische Effektivität. Gegner schnell Kampffunfug zu machen. Aus ungünstigen Positionen zu kämpfen unbewaffnet begegnungen mit bewaffneten Gegnern zu jubeln. Das Waffentraining fast schwerter. Katanas Kursor Wakizashi, Spear, Yari, Stabwaffen, Bio, Ketten, Kasari Dolch, Tanto zahlreich Spezialwaffen. Der Schwerpunkt lag jedoch anders als beim Samurai-Training. Samurai waren Krieger. Die ihr Waffen offen als Statassembly trugen in anerkannten militaristischen Kontexten kämpften. Ninja hingen müssen ihr Waffen verbergen. Sich aus verfügbaren Materialien improvisieren notfalls alles als Waffe einsetzen. Der Umgang der Ninja mit Waffen war pragmatisch. Sie waren Werkzeug für bestimmtes Zweck. Kein Statassembly oder Identitätsmerkmal. Das Training mit Wurfwaffen fast Shuriken, Klein Wurfmesser, Stein improvisiert Gestures. Ziel war nicht die Hollywood Fantasy, von tadlicher Treffsicherheit auf Großdistanz. Die tatsächlich effektiv Reichweite von Wurfmessern war recht begrenzt. Schwer Verletzungen oder gar der Tod durch Shuriken waren unwahrscheinlich. Vielmehr dienten diese Waffen dazu, den Gegner zu belastigen, abzulenken Gelegenheiten zu schaffen. Ein Shuriken, der ins Gesicht geworfen wird, ließ den Gegner zusammenzucken die Augen schützen, wodurch sich ein Luki zur Flucht oder zum Angriff ergab. Mehrere Wurfschuss zwangen die Gegner, Deckung zu suchen oder sich zu schützen, was ihre Effektivität verringert. Techniken zur Informationsbeschaffung waren wesentlicher Bestandteil des Trainings. Die Schüler lernten systematisch Beobachtung, wie man einen Ort im Auge behält, Aktivitätsmuster zu erkennen, Sicherheitsmaßnahmen zu identifizieren Einbruchsmöglichkeiten aufzuspüren. Sie studierten Gedächtnistechniken mit Hilfe von Visualisierung Esselsbrücken, die es ihnen ermöglichten, komplexe Informationen und schriftliche Notizen zu memorieren. Sie lernten, die Zuverlässigkeit von Informationen zu beurteilen, verschiedene Quellen miteinander zu vergleichen aus unvollständigen Informationen Praxis Schlussfolgerungen zu ziehen. Das Verkleidungs, Schauspieltraining war umfassend. Die Schüler studierten verschiedene Gesellschaftsschichten, lernten deren Manieren, Sprachmuster Verhaltensweisen kennen. Sie übten Rollenspiel, verbrachten Tage oder Wochen damit, falsche Identitäten einzunehmen, verschiedene Persönlichkeiten zu verinnerlichen. Sie lernten, außerhalb durch Make-up, Polsterung Kostümwechsel zu verhindern. Sie studierten die menschliche Psychologie, zu verstehen, was Darstellungen glaubwürdig mit was Verdacht erregt. Die 7 Grundverkleidungen waren, Grundwissen, Akindo, Handler, Hokashi, Unterhalter, Kamuso, Wandermunch, Surugaku, Schauspieler, Yamabushi, Bergastet, Tsunada, Bürgerlicher, Bauer, Ronin, Herrenloser Samurai. Students learned each role thoroughly enough to pass as genuine members of each class, studying not just outward appearances, but the knowledge concerns and perspectives that made each type of person believable. Survival training taught students to navigate without maps using celestial navigation, natural landmarks, and dead reckoning. They learned to identify edible plants, catch small game, find water, and construct temporary shelter. They studied weather prediction using natural signs, allowing them to anticipate dangerous conditions or choose optimal times for operations. They learned basic medicine, including treating wounds, setting bones, identifying and treating poisoning, and managing pain without access to formal medical care. Lockpicking and forced entry techniques were taught using real locks and doors. Students learned how different lock mechanisms worked, how to manipulate them, and how to improvise tools when proper implements weren't available. They practiced opening various types of doors and gates, learning to recognize and defeat different security measures. Speed and silence were essential. A lock picked loudly or slowly defeated infiltration's purpose. Psychological training developed mental discipline and resistance to stress. Students practiced meditation derived from Buddhist and Shinto traditions, learning to calm their minds, focus attention, and maintain composure under pressure. They learned to function despite fear, to think clearly in dangerous situations, and to maintain false identities under questioning. Some training deliberately exposed students to stressful conditions, hunger, cold, pain, fear to build resilience. The Kugi-in, the nine-hand seals often associated with ninja mysticism, were likely mnemonic devices rather than magical gestures. By forming specific hand positions, practitioners could remember complex sequences of information, access particular mental states, or follow memorized procedures in stressful situations. The ritualistic aspect helped practitioners focus and prepare mentally for dangerous missions. Academic knowledge included literacy, surprisingly rare in feudal Japan outside the aristocracy, mathematics for navigation and calculations, basic astronomy for navigation and timekeeping, and knowledge of regional geography, politics, and power structures. Understanding the political landscape, who allied with whom, what motivated different factions where conflicts might erupt, allowed ninja to provide valuable strategic intelligence beyond simple observation. Specialized training varied by family tradition and individual aptitude. Some families specialized in particular areas: explosives and fire, poisons, codes and cryptography, animal handling, or specific combat techniques. Students might receive training in their family specialties, or be sent to other families to learn techniques not available within their own lineage. Female ninja, called kunoichi, received different training emphasis, though much was shared with male operatives. Women could access spaces men could not. Women's quarters in castles and mansions, for example. They could pose as servants, seamstresses, or entertainers to infiltrate households. Training emphasized social skills, manipulation techniques, seduction when appropriate, though this was just one tool among many, and concealed weapons, since women couldn't carry obvious arms without arousing suspicion. Training culminated in practical experience under supervision. Young ninja accompanied experienced operatives on actual missions, initially in support roles, gradually taking on more responsibility as they demonstrated competence. A youth might start by helping prepare equipment, then serving as a lookout, then conducting peripheral parts of operations, and finally leading their own missions. This apprenticeship system ensured that techniques were tested in real conditions and that theoretical knowledge transitioned to practical capability. The training was never truly complete. Even accomplished ninja continued practicing, refining techniques, and learning throughout their lives. The best operatives were often those who had survived and learned from decades of real missions, accumulating knowledge that no formal training could provide. Survival itself was educational. Understanding what had gone wrong on previous missions informed better planning for future ones. By age 20, a ninja who had trained from childhood was a formidable operative. They possessed exceptional physical capabilities, systematic knowledge across multiple domains, practiced skills in dozens of techniques, and the mental discipline to use these capabilities effectively under stress. They weren't superhuman, but they were extraordinary. The product of arguably the most comprehensive covert operations training system developed anywhere in the pre-modern world. This training created not just individual capabilities, but a shared professional culture. All EGA and Koga ninja learned similar techniques, understood similar principles, and could work together seamlessly because they shared common foundations. When multiple ninja from different families worked together on a mission, they could coordinate effectively because their training had given them compatible skills and common frameworks. Now equipped with understanding of how ninja trained, let us examine what tools they actually used, what weapons they carried, and what equipment made their missions possible. Let us explore the ninja's arsenal. Chapter 4. The Arsenal of Shadows. Tools, Weapons, and Techniques. In a dark storage room in EGA, a ninja prepares for a mission. Let us watch as equipment is carefully selected and packed. Some items would be recognizable to any warrior. A sword, a dagger, rope. Others are more unusual, and nothing is quite what it seems. The sword first. Popular culture depicts a distinctive ninja sword, short, straight-bladed, with a square guard. Historical evidence for this specific design is limited. Real ninja used various swords depending on mission requirements and personal preference. Sometimes they carried standard katana, like any samurai. Other times they used shorter wakiashi or chikudo straight swords. What distinguished a ninja's sword wasn't design but usage. It was a tool, not a status symbol. The sword's scabbard SIA served multiple functions. Its hollow interior could conceal documents, poison, or small tools. The scabbard's open and could function as a breathing tube underwater or a blow gun for poison darts. Used as a staff, it extended reach and could distract opponents while the blade remained sheathed. Laid across a gap, it became a makeshift bridge. The pragmatic, multi-purpose approach characterized ninja equipment generally. Daggers and short blades were essential. The tanto, standard dagger, was reliable and easily concealed. The kunai, often depicted in modern media as a throwing weapon, was actually a multi-purpose tool, primarily a trowel for digging. Its pointed tip could loosen mortar between stones. Its blade could cut rope, and yes, it could serve as a weapon if necessary, but throwing was a secondary function. The kunai exemplified ninja philosophy. Every item should serve multiple purposes. Shuriken come in two main types. Both shuriken were spike-like projectiles, thrown like darts. High shuriken or shaken were the iconic star-shaped throwing blades. Both were harassment weapons rather than primary killing tools. Throwing any small blade accurately beyond a few meters is difficult. Even successful hits through clothing rarely caused serious injury. But they served valuable tactical purposes. Thrown at someone's face, they caused flinching and disruption. Multiple shuriken forced opponents to take cover. Used while retreating, they slowed pursuers. They weren't magic Death Stars, but practical tactical tools used correctly. Ropes and cords were fundamental equipment. The Kaganawa grappling hook attached to rope enabled climbing smooth walls, crossing gaps, and retrieving distant objects. The hook could fold for concealment, deploying when needed. Various rope lengths served different purposes. Long ropes for climbing, shorter cords for binding, very thin but strong cord for setting up tripwires or traps. Ninja became experts in knot tying, using different knots for different situations, and tying or untying them quickly, even in darkness. Climbing aids included shuko, hand claws, and ashiko, foot claws, metal bands with spikes worn on hands and feet, providing grip on wooden surfaces or tree bark. These took considerable practice to use effectively, but once mastered, they enabled climbing surfaces that would otherwise be impossible. Takejita were special footwear with spikes or cleats for additional traction. Water equipment addressed one of the ninjas' frequent challenges: how to cross moats, rivers, or other water obstacles silently and without being detected. Yukidaru were inflatable bladders or sealed containers used for flotation, allowing a ninja to float across water while remaining low profile. Mizugumo water spiders were circular flotation devices worn like skis, theoretically allowing someone to walk on water. Their actual effectiveness is debated. Probably useful in very shallow water or marsh, but not on deeper water, as dramatic depictions suggest. Breathing tubes, mizukaki, were simple hollow reeds or bamboo tubes that allowed breathing while submerged. The user could hide in water with only the tube's tip above surface, invisible to casual observers. Simple but effective. This technique made moes less effective as obstacles and provided emergency hiding when pursued. Smoke-generating devices served multiple purposes. Chemical mixtures, when ignited, produced dense smoke for concealment during retreat or to create chaos during operations. Different formulas produced different effects. Some created toxic or irritating smoke that disabled opponents. Others just provided visual obscurity. The famous vanishing in a puff of smoke had buses in reality. A smoke bomb thrown while escaping could confuse pursuers about direction and timing of retreat. Explosives developed after gunpowder reached Japan in the 16th century. Ceramic containers filled with gunpowder and shrapnel created makeshift grenades. These were dangerous to use. Unreliable fuses, unpredictable explosions, risk of premature detonation, but they provided capabilities previously unavailable, breaching walls, creating diversions, or starting fires from distance. Different explosive mixtures served different purposes. Loud noise without much damage for distraction, or focused destructive force for sabotage. Fire-starting equipment was crucial for sabotage missions. Various methods could ignite fires from distance or on delay. Slow-burning fuses, chemicals that ignited when mixed, arrows with burning heads. Fire was one of the ninjas' most effective weapons. Castles and towns built primarily of wood and paper were extremely vulnerable. A single well-placed fire could cause more damage than an army. Poisons and toxins served both offensive and defensive purposes. Knowledge of toxic plants and their preparation allowed poisoning food or drink, treating weapons to make wounds more dangerous, or creating smoke that sickened those who inhaled it. Defensive knowledge meant recognizing poisoning symptoms and having potential antidotes available. Practical poison use was less dramatic than fiction suggests. Reliable poisons that killed quickly were rare. Administration was challenging, and detection was always a risk. Medicine and first aid supplies included bandages, needles, and thread for stitching wounds, various herbs and preparations for pain relief or preventing infection, and materials for setting splints. A ninja operating far from support needed self-sufficiency in medical matters. Small wounds could become serious without proper care, and serious wounds could be fatal without immediate treatment. Disguise materials were as important as weapons. Various garments appropriate to different social roles, makeup and materials for altering appearance, false documents or credentials, and props that made disguises believable. Merchants' goods, monks' prayer beads, farmers' tools. The disguise wasn't just costume, but complete transformation requiring appropriate props and behavior. Lockpicks and entry tools included various picks for manipulating different lock types, pry bars for forcing doors or windows, files for removing obstacles, and improvised tools when proper equipment wasn't available. Ninja couldn't always anticipate what security measures they'd encounter, so they carried versatile tools and developed improvisational skills. Communication equipment enabled coordinating between team members. Coded whistles sent simple messages across distance. Signal fires or light flashes conveyed information. Written messages in code protected information if intercepted. Dead drops hiding messages in predetermined locations allowed communication without direct contact. These methods seem primitive now, but were sophisticated for their time. Let us pause to address what ninja did not typically carry. The all-black bodysuit is theatrical invention. Real ninja wore dark blue or brown clothing that blended better with nighttime shadows than pure black. They didn't carry dozens of exotic weapons. An operative traveling in disguise couldn't carry obvious armaments without compromising cover. The massive shuriken with multiple blades seen in movies are fantasy. Real shuriken were small enough to conceal and carry multiple specimens. The ninja's true arsenal wasn't exotic gadgets, but comprehensive preparation. Before missions, operatives gathered intelligence about targets, layout, security measures, guard routines, potential entry points. They identified escape routes and safe houses. They prepared equipment specific to mission requirements rather than carrying everything always. They planned contingencies for complications. This preparation multiplied the effectiveness of physical tools. The psychological dimension was crucial. Ninja created fear through reputation and mysterious methods. An opponent who feared ninja might see threats everywhere, waste resources, guarding against infiltration, or become paralyzed by uncertainty. Creating this psychological effect was as valuable as the actual damage ninja could inflict. The famous vanishing techniques combined real methods, smoke bombs, pre-planned escape routes, accomplices creating distractions with psychological exploitation. Observers already expecting mysterious disappearance interpreted ordinary escape as supernatural vanishing. Technology evolved throughout the ninja's active period. Early ninja had no access to gunpowder weapons. Later generations developed extensive knowledge of explosives and firearms. Contact with China, Korea, and eventually Portuguese traders brought new knowledge and equipment. Successful ninja weren't bound to tradition. but adapted new capabilities continuously. The underlying principles, stealth, intelligence, adaptability, mission focus, remained constant, but specific techniques and tools evolved. We should also note what ninja didn't typically do despite modern depictions. They weren't frontline combatants. That was the samurai's role. They avoided direct fights when possible because combat was risky and attracted attention. They weren't assassins primarily, though assassination was sometimes necessary. Most missions involved intelligence gathering, sabotage, spreading disinformation, or other covert actions. The dramatic assassinations remembered in history were exceptions rather than normal operations. The ninja's greatest weapon was knowledge of human psychology, of their operational environment, of their enemy's capabilities and intentions, and of their own skills' limits. Physical tools extended these capabilities, but couldn't replace understanding. A ninja who understood their target could succeed with minimal equipment. One who didn't understand it would fail, despite the finest tools. As our operative, Iga finishes preparing their equipment, checks each item carefully, and sets off toward enemy territory. They carry perhaps 20 pounds of gear, light enough not to impede movement, comprehensive enough to handle likely situations. Most of what makes them dangerous isn't in their pack, but in their mind. Years of training, missions of experience, knowledge accumulated through generations, and the discipline to use all of it effectively. With understanding of ninjas' tools and weapons, let us now examine their techniques of disguise, deception, and infiltration, the psychological arts that were often more important than physical capabilities. Chapter 5. Masks and Mirrors. The Arts of Deception. The greatest ninja weapon had no physical form. It couldn't be confiscated at checkpoints or countered by better armor. This weapon was the art of deception, the ability to be whoever the mission required to manipulate perception and belief, to move through enemy territory, not by avoiding detection, but by being seen as someone harmless. Let us follow a ninja on an intelligence-gathering mission to understand how deception worked in practice. Our operative's target is a castle controlled by an enemy daimyo. The mission: learn the strength of the garrison, the quality of their supplies, and the daimyo's plans for the upcoming campaign season. Infiltrating the castle by stealth would be extremely difficult. It's well guarded, sits on elevated ground, and has minimal cover for approach. Instead, our ninja will walk through the front gate. First, selecting an identity. The 7 basic disguises gave ninja frameworks for infiltration, which best fits this mission. A merchant might gain entry to sell goods, but wouldn't access military information. A wandering monk could enter, but would be watched carefully. Our ninja chooses the Kyuso disguise, a type of Buddhist monk who wears a basket-like woven hat completely covering their face, carries a flute, and travels collecting alms. The Komuso disguise had particular advantages for ninja. The face-concealing hat was the entire point of the order. Members wore it to demonstrate humility and disassociate from worldly identity. This meant a ninja could hide their features without arousing suspicion. The wandering lifestyle of real Komuso meant they appeared in many locations, so one more wouldn't seem unusual. And real Komuso were often former samurai or educated individuals, so a degree of cultivation wouldn't seem out of place. But disguise is far more than costume. Our ninja has spent weeks preparing. They've learned to play the shakuhachi, bamboo flute, well enough to be believable. They've memorized Buddhist sutras appropriate to the Komuso tradition. They've studied the mannerisms, speech patterns, and behavioral expectations of Kyuso monks. They've obtained authentic or carefully crafted costume elements. When they walk toward that castle, they aren't ninja pretending to be a monk. They are, for all practical purposes, actually a monk. Approaching the castle gate, they play the flute softly, a melancholy tune traditional to Kyuso. They move with the measured, unhurried pace of someone on a spiritual journey, rather than a worldly errand. When challenged by guards, they respond with mild courtesy, soft-spoken, but not servile. I travel seeking alms and offering prayers. They explain, might I enter to receive the Lord's generosity and offer blessings in return? Most castles wouldn't refuse such a request. Turning away religious figures could bring bad luck or divine displeasure. And what threat could a wandering monk pose? The guards allow entry, perhaps assigning someone to keep a loose eye on the visitor, but not with serious suspicion. Inside the castle, our ninja as monk moves carefully through outer areas, where supplicants and merchants congregate. They play the flute occasionally, maintaining their role. They accept small offerings from servants and soldiers, thanking each politely, engaging in brief conversations. These seemingly casual interactions gather intelligence, comments about recent supply deliveries, complaints about training schedules, gossip about the Lord's advisors, observations about troop movements. The key is never to appear to be gathering intelligence. A direct question like, "How many soldiers garrison this castle?" would immediately arouse suspicion. But a comment like, "Your lord must have many men under his command to maintain such impressive fortifications," might prompt the respondent to boast about specific numbers. A sympathetic observation like, "You soldiers must train very hard," might elicit complaints about exhausting drill schedules that reveal training routines and unit organization. Our operative also observes systematically how many guard posts, what's their relief schedule, which areas are patrolled frequently versus casually, where are supplies stored, what's the condition of equipment and morale of men. A trained observer can learn enormous amounts just by watching carefully while appearing to be doing something else. In this case, being a wandering monk seeking arms. This is the art of what ninja called in passive intelligence, gathering through simple presence and observation. It required patience, careful observation, and memory training to retain details without taking suspicious notes. After leaving the castle, our operative would retreat to a safe location and spend hours recording everything observed, creating detailed intelligence reports for their employer. But sometimes more active approaches were necessary. Another fundamental ninja skill was active engagement, asking questions, and creating situations that revealed information. This required understanding human psychology and how to manipulate it ethically or unethically, depending on your perspective. Different psychological approaches served different situations. Building rapport made people want to help. This involved active listening, showing genuine interest in people, finding common ground, and creating emotional connections. A ninja who made someone feel heard and valued could often get that person to volunteer information freely. Exploiting emotions opened other possibilities. Fear made people cooperative. Subtle hints of danger or consequences could motivate information sharing. Greed worked similarly, offering rewards for information or creating situations where helping the ninja served the target's interests. Pride made people boastful. Flattery about their knowledge or importance often led them to demonstrate that knowledge by sharing secrets. Anger made people careless. Provoking someone to emotional response often led them to say more than they intended. These techniques sound manipulative, and they were. Ninja weren't primarily concerned with treating targets ethically, but with mission success. However, the best operatives understood that maintaining dignity and minimizing harm led to better long-term results. Brutally manipulated people became enemies seeking revenge. Carefully managed sources could provide ongoing intelligence over extended periods. Creating false beliefs, spreading disinformation was another crucial skill. Planting rumors through seemingly independent sources created confusion among enemies. A false report that reinforcements were en route might cause a daimon to abandon an advantageous position. A rumor that a trusted advisor was secretly disloyal might create internal conflict. The key was making the false information believable and ensuring it couldn't be traced back to its source. Ninja also needed defensive skills, detecting deception directed at them and resisting interrogation if captured. This required understanding the same psychological principles they used on others. Recognizing inconsistencies in stories, identifying emotional manipulations, and maintaining mental discipline under pressure were essential survival skills. The art of maintaining cover under pressure, resisting interrogation, was particularly important. If captured and their true identity discovered, ninja faced torture and execution. Training included building pain tolerance, developing mental techniques for managing stress, and learning to maintain false cover stories consistently, even under severe pressure. Some ninja carried poison to use on themselves if capture seemed inevitable, not from an ability to endure pain, but from understanding that everyone breaks eventually, and preventing intelligence compromise was paramount. Female ninja kunoichi used gender-specific approaches. As women, they could access spaces and people unavailable to men. Infiltrating a castle as a servant, entertainer, or seamstress provided access to women's quarters, private chambers, and casual environments where people spoke more freely. The stereotype of the seductive kunoichi, while not entirely false, oversimplifies. Sexuality was one tool among many, used when appropriate, but not the primary or only approach. Kunoichi often gathered intelligence by cultivating relationships over time rather than through single encounters. A servant in a household heard conversations, observed visitors, and learned family secrets through daily proximity. This long-term infiltration required remarkable patience and the ability to maintain false identity for months or years. The ninja's arts of disguise and deception represent sophisticated understanding of human psychology, developed through generations of practice. They understood that people see what they expect to see, believe what fits their existing assumptions, and trust those who seem familiar and unthreatening. By exploiting these tendencies systematically, ninja could achieve invisibility not through magic, but through human nature itself. These psychological skills were as demanding as physical techniques and required as much training. It's relatively easy to teach someone to climb a wall. It's far harder to teach them to become someone else convincingly, to manipulate without detection, or to maintain composure while deceiving someone face to face. The ninja who mastered both physical and psychological arts became truly dangerous, not because they could fight well or move quietly, but because they could be anyone, anywhere, learning anything. As we've explored ninja training tools and techniques of deception, we've developed understanding of their capabilities. Now, let us see these capabilities in action by examining actual historical events where ninja played crucial roles. Let us watch as shadow warriors influenced the course of Japanese history. Legende Chapter 6. Shadows over battlefields. Ninja in history's greatest conflicts. The flickering flames of countless torches illuminate Sawayama Castle on a night in 1561. Inside the fortress, defenders believe themselves safe behind thick walls and locked gates. Outside, the army of Rokaki Ashikata has besieged them for weeks, achieving nothing. The castle's defenses are too strong for direct assault, and the defenders have adequate supplies for a long siege. The stalemate seems unbreakable. But tonight, Rokaku has deployed a different kind of warrior. A small team of ninja from Iga, led by a specialist named Tomosuke Sada, approaches the castle under cover of darkness. They've studied the fortress for days, identified weak points, and planned their operation meticulously. Around midnight, they make their move. The team splits up, each member heading to a different location, carrying fire-starting materials. They've chosen their targets carefully. Storehouses, stables, wooden structures near the main keep. Almost simultaneously, at multiple points across the castle, fires erupt. Flames spread quickly through the wooden construction. Bells begin ringing frantically. Defenders rush to fight the fires, abandoning their posts. In the confusion, other members of the ninja team reach the castle gates. Using tools prepared in advance, they work quickly to remove the bars, securing the gates from inside. Within minutes, gates that have resisted weeks of siege stand open. Rokaku's troops, waiting in position for exactly this moment, pour through the breaches. By dawn, Sawayama Castle has fallen. This operation exemplifies how ninja influenced feudal Japan's military conflicts. A small team of specialists accomplished what a large army could not through greater strength, but through stealth, surprise, and understanding of psychological effects. The fires created chaos. The chaos created opportunities. The opportunities led to victory. Let us examine several historical events where ninja played documented crucial roles. Understanding how shadow warriors influenced history's course. The name Hattori Hanzo appears in our story now. Born in 1542 in Mikawa Province, Hanzo came from a family with connections to Iga ninja traditions. He entered service with the Matsudra clan, later called Tokugawa, beginning a relationship that would profoundly impact Japanese history. Hanzo commanded units of Iga and Koga ninja, providing Tokugawa Ieyasu one of the three great unifiers of Japan with intelligence and covert operations capabilities. Hanzo's most famous exploit occurred in 1582, known as the Iga Crossing, or Igoi. The circumstances were desperate. Oda Nobunaga, the most powerful daimyo in Japan and Tokugawa's ally, had been assassinated by his own general, Akechi Mitsuhide. When Tokugawa learned of the assassination, he was in Osaka, deep in territory, now controlled by Akechi, with only a small escort. The normal routes home were blocked or too dangerous. If Tokugawa was killed or captured, history would have taken a dramatically different course. Hattori Hanzo planned an alternative route through Iga province. Using his connections with Iga families, he arranged safe passage through this mountainous region. The journey was treacherous. They had to avoid Achi search parties, navigate difficult terrain, and travel quickly before the escape window closed. Hanzo's knowledge of Iga's paths and his relationships with local ninja families made the impossible possible. They successfully traversed Iga and reached Tokugawa's home province safely. This escape had enormous historical consequences. Tokugawa survived to become one of Nanaga's successors, eventually winning supremacy over all Japan and establishing the Tokugawa shogunate that would rule for over 250 years. If Hanzo had failed, if Tokugawa had been captured or killed in 1582, the entire subsequent course of Japanese history would have been different. This event also secured the Hattori family's position. Hanzo's descendants received hereditary positions in the Tokugawa administration, maintaining leadership over ninja units. A gate of Edo Castle was named Hanzo in his honor. The Hattori had risen from provincial operatives to confidants of Japan's most powerful rulers. But ninja didn't always succeed, and their independence sometimes became dangerous liability. In 1579, Oda Nobunaga's son, Oda Nobukatsu, attempted to invade Iga province with about 8,000 troops. Nobukatsu had various grievances against Iga, and his father, Naonaga, saw the province's independence as intolerable. Iga's Confederate government refused to submit to Nanaga's authority, and eliminating this defiance would demonstrate that no region could maintain independence against Nanaga's power. The Iga Confederation, though significantly outnumbered, had major advantages: intimate knowledge of their mountainous terrain, strong defensive positions, and guerrilla warfare expertise. When Nobukatsu's army entered Iga's valleys, the ninja struck from ambush. They used the terrain masterfully, attacking from elevation, falling back to prepared positions, striking again. They set traps, created rock slides, and harassed the invading force constantly. Nobukatsu's samurai trained for open field battles and castle sieges struggled in Ia's mountains against an enemy that refused to fight conventionally. Casualties mounted. Morale collapsed. Eventually, Nobukatsu ordered retreat. His invasion a complete failure. The Iga Confederation had successfully defended their homeland against a much larger force, demonstrating the effectiveness of their tactics and training. However, this victory contained seeds of disaster. Oda Nobunaga would not accept such humiliation. In 1581, he personally led a massive invasion of Iga. Contemporary accounts suggest perhaps 40,000 troops entering from multiple directions simultaneously. This overwhelming force couldn't be resisted through guerrilla tactics alone. The mountains that had protected Iga became a trap when invaders entered from all sides. The invasion was systematic and brutal. Oda's forces burned villages, killed resistors, and occupied strategic positions. The Iga Confederation fought desperately, but was overwhelmed. Many ninja died in combat. Others fled, dispersing to other regions. A few families negotiated submission. Iga, as an independent ninja stronghold, ceased to exist. This destruction of Iga scattered its survivors throughout Japan. Some entered service with various daimyo, carrying Iga techniques to new regions. Others abandoned their ninja identity entirely, becoming farmers or merchants. The suppression demonstrated that no amount of skill could overcome overwhelming conventional force supplied with determination, but it also spread Iga's knowledge more widely. The very attempt to eliminate Iga ninja ensured their techniques became more widely distributed during the siege of Osaka Castle 1614 to 1615. Ninja served both sides of Japan's final great conflict before unification. Tokugawa Ieyasu, now shogun, moved to eliminate the last major threat to his power. Toyotomi Hidori, son of Toyotomi Hideyoshi, who controlled Osaka Castle and commanded significant forces loyal to the Toyotomi name. Tokugawa employed his ninja units, including EGA survivors, for intelligence gathering, infiltration, and sabotage. They mapped Osaka Castle's defenses, identified supply routes, and conducted covert operations to disrupt Toyotomi preparations. Some ninja infiltrated the castle disguised as servants or merchants, gathering information from within. The Toyotomi side also employed ninja, some from Koga, others from different traditions, for counterintelligence and defensive operations. They guarded against infiltration, conducted counter-reconnaissance, and tried to disrupt Tokugawa's siege operations. This created situations where ninja from different factions detected and fought each other. Shadow warriors hunting shadows. One tactic attributed to Tokugawa ninja during this siege was spreading disinformation within Osaka Castle. By planting false information about planned attacks, real defensive weaknesses, or alleged betrayals, they created confusion and mistrust among Toyotomi commanders. This psychological warfare complemented physical siege operations, degrading the defenders' effectiveness from within. The siege ended with Toyotomi defeat, and with it Japan's period of civil war concluded. The Tokugawa had won absolute power. Ironically, this victory would eventually make ninja obsolete. The peace Tokugawa established eliminated the constant warfare that had made covert operatives necessary. The Shimabu Rebellion 1637 to 1638 represented one of ninja's final significant military operations. Christian peasants and Ronin masterless samurai oppressed by harsh treatment and religious persecution revolted and fortified themselves in Hara Castle. The Tokugawa mobilized massive forces to suppress this rebellion, and ninja were employed for reconnaissance and infiltration. Ninja infiltrated the castle to assess the rebel strength, supplies, and morale. They gathered intelligence that informed Tokugawa's siege strategy. Some accounts describe ninja spreading disinformation among the rebels or conducting sabotage operations. After the rebellion's brutal suppression, ninja assisted in hunting remaining rebels who had escaped. But this operation occurred in a changing world. The age of civil war had ended. The Tokugawa shogunate had consolidated power and was establishing an unprecedentedly stable government. The constant warfare that had employed ninja for 150 years was ending. Shimabu would be one of the last times ninja saw significant action. Peace was coming, and peace would make shadow warriors unnecessary. Beyond these major events, countless smaller operations, less documented but collectively significant, showed ninja's influence. Intelligence gathered before battles that allowed commanders to choose advantageous positions. Supply lines disrupted that weakened enemies before major engagements. Key figures assassinated, changing political situations. False information spread that caused enemies to make strategic errors. Castle infiltrations that provided entry for besieging forces. These operations rarely made dramatic history, but they determined outcomes as surely as pitched battles. The commander, who knew enemy strength and positions, had enormous advantage. The castle, with compromised security, fell more easily. The daimyo, whose enemies constantly suffered mysterious setbacks, gained reputation and power that attracted more allies. The ninja's greatest historical impact was perhaps not any single operation, but the aggregate effect of making covert intelligence and operations systematically available to those who employed them. Daimyo, who understood the value of intelligence and used ninja effectively, tended to succeed. Those who relied solely on conventional military strength often found themselves outmaneuvered by better-informed opponents. As these examples show, ninja influenced history not through supernatural powers, but through practical application of intelligence, stealth, and psychological warfare. They achieved results that armies couldn't, not because they were stronger, but because they operated differently in darkness through deception, using knowledge as weapon. Their operations changed outcomes, influenced decisions, and shaped the course of events in Japan's turbulent civil war period. But all eras end. The constant warfare that had employed and refined ninjas' arts was approaching its conclusion. The Tokugawa were unifying Japan under stable government, and in that peace, shadow warriors would find themselves without purpose. Let us now trace the ninja's decline, understanding how peace destroyed what war had created. Chapter 8. From History to Legend. The Birth of the Supernatural Ninja. Picture a kabuki theater in Edo, perhaps 1750. The audience watches aptly as a dramatic scene unfolds. The hero, a loyal samurai, faces an impossible challenge. He must infiltrate the villain's fortress to rescue a kidnapped princess. Suddenly, mysterious figures in black appear on stage. They climb walls impossibly fast, throw shuriken with impossible accuracy, and seemingly vanish into thin air using trap doors and hidden mechanisms. These theatrical ninja bear little resemblance to historical ninja. They're not intelligence operatives carefully gathering information while disguised as monks or merchants. They're action heroes performing spectacular feats, using exotic weapons, possessing mysterious powers. The audience isn't meant to believe this is historically accurate. They understand theatrical conventions, but gradually these theatrical conventions begin shaping how people imagine ninja. The all-black outfit, now iconic, was originally theater convention. Kabuki used stage hands called kurogo, black cloaks, dressed entirely in black to move props and change sets during performances. The audience learned to conventionally ignore them. They were functionally invisible. When ninja characters appeared in similar black outfits, it associated ninja with this theatrical invisibility. Real ninja dressed to blend with their environment, often dark blue or brown, that disappeared better in shadows than pure black. But the theatrical image stuck. Theater also gave ninja increasingly superhuman abilities. Stage machinery allowed flying through wires, vanishing through trapdoors, and transforming through quick costume changes. Audiences understood these were theatrical effects, but they established expectations about what ninja could do. Over generations, the distinction between theatrical convention and historical belief blurred. Popular literature amplified mythologization. The peaceful Edo period saw explosion in printed books and illustrated stories available to increasingly literate urban populations. These stories included historical novels set in the Sengoku period, featuring ninja characters performing increasingly impossible feats. Some writers drew on actual historical events, but embellished them dramatically. Others invented entirely fictional ninja adventures. The process worked like this. A historical ninja infiltrated a castle and started a fire, allowing besieging forces to enter. The historical event was impressive. Skilled infiltration, careful timing, brave action. But storytellers embellished it. In one retelling, the ninja scaled impossible walls. In another version, they used magical fire that burned only what they wanted. In a third, they fought and defeated dozens of guards single-handedly. Each retelling added more drama, more impossible elements, until the historical event became unrecognizable. Specific ninja capabilities transformed through exaggeration. Historical ninja moved silently using careful technique, testing surfaces, distributing weight, moving deliberately. This became supernatural invisibility, literally vanishing from sight through mystical means. Historical ninja were skilled at disguise, changing clothing, altering appearance, adopting mannerisms. This became magical transformation, actually shape-shifting into animals or other people through supernatural power. Historical ninja trained extensively in climbing, using tools, finding holds, building strength. This became supernatural ability, walking on walls and ceilings, defying gravity through mysterious techniques. Historical ninja knew medicinal plants and toxic substances, practical pharmacology. This became alchemy, creating magical potions with miraculous effects through secret formulas. Historical ninja used hand seals, kujan as mnemonic devices, mental tools for remembering complex information. These became magical gestures, summoning supernatural powers through mystical signs. Why did this mythologization occur? Several factors converged. Loss of factual knowledge created gaps that imagination filled. As people who remembered real ninja died, fewer could contradict increasingly fantastical claims. Without clear knowledge of what ninja actually did, people could imagine anything. Entertainment value favored exaggeration. Supernatural ninja made better stories than realistic ones. Publishers, theater owners, and storytellers recognized that audiences preferred spectacular fiction to mundane fact. Commercial incentives drove mythologization. Nostalgia for the Sengoku period created demand for stories so set in that era. In the long peace of Tokugawa rule, people became nostalgic for the more exciting, if more dangerous, age of civil war. Ninja stories satisfied this nostalgia while being safely distant from current politics. Cultural needs for particular archetypes found expression in ninja legends. The underdog who defeats powerful opponents through cunning. The mysterious figure operating outside normal rules. The master of esoteric knowledge. These psychological archetypes resonated with audiences, and ninja legends shaped themselves to fulfill these cultural functions. Historical ninja themselves became legendary figures with wildly exaggerated abilities. Hattori Hanzo, who was an unskilled but human warrior serving Tokugawa, became a superhuman figure in legends, commanding demons, predicting the future, possessing magical powers. Different stories attributed different supernatural abilities, but all made him far more than the historical person. Ishikawa man, probably a historical bandit executed in 1594, became legendary ninja thief. Stories gave him supernatural thieving abilities, made him champion of the poor, Japanese Robin Hood, and credited him with impossible feats. He became more symbol than person. Fumikataro, historical guerrilla leader known for ruthlessness, became giant warrior. Descriptions claiming over 7 feet tall, with superhuman strength, commanding demons, using dark magic. The historical person was dangerous. The legendary figure was nearly invincible. Sartobi Sasuke, possibly entirely fictional, supposedly served Sata Yukimura in the early 17th century. Legends made him master of all ninja arts, able to command animals, disappear in smoke, and perform acrobatics impossible for humans. He became the archetypal ninja hero in popular culture. These legendary ninja shared characteristics, supernatural abilities far beyond human limits, loyal service to worthy masters, dramatic conflicts with equally superhuman enemies, and tragic or mysterious fates. They represented what audiences wanted ninja to be rather than what they actually were. Religious and mystical traditions influenced ninja mythology. Buddhist and Shinto concepts merged with ninja legends. The Kiin hand seals, originally practical mnemonic devices, became magical gestures associated with esoteric Buddhism. Stories claimed ninja trained in secret mountain sanctuaries under mystical masters who taught supernatural arts. Ninja were said to command supernatural creatures. Tengu, crow, demons, kami, nature spirits, or yokai, supernatural beings, as servants or allies. By the late Edo period, by 1850, ninja existed primarily as legends. The real ninja were gone, their actual history already obscured by a century and a half of mythologization. What remained were stories, entertaining, exciting, often fantastical stories that bore increasingly little resemblance to the historical profession that inspired them. This separation between history and legend would have permanent consequences. When the West discovered ninja in the 20th century, they encountered these legends rather than historical reality. And when Japanese themselves rediscovered their ninja heritage, they often found legends easier to access than historical facts. The mythologized ninja had overshadowed the historical ninja so completely that recovering the truth would require careful scholarly work, separating fact from generations of fictional embellishment. But first, let us examine the few historical documents that survived, the training manuals that provide our best windows into what ninja actually were and did. Let us explore the Vansanukai and other ninja texts. Chapter 9. Written in Shadow. The Secret Scrolls of Ninja Knowledge. In a private collection in Japan rests a document that survived from 1676. 22 volumes of carefully brushed text recording the accumulated knowledge of Ie ninja traditions. This is the Bansen-shukai, or Sea of Myriad Rivers merging compiled by Fujiyoshi Yasutake. It represents our single most comprehensive source for understanding historical ninja methods, and its very existence tells a poignant story. By 1676, the Tokugawa peace was 7 decades old. Ninja no longer conducted active operations. The old masters who had fought in the Sengoku period were dying, taking their knowledge and experience to graves. Fujibayashi recognized that without documentation, centuries of accumulated expertise would be lost forever. So he set out to create a comprehensive manual, collecting knowledge from multiple families and traditions, organizing it systematically, and preserving it for posterity. The Bansanukai opens with philosophical foundations, drawing heavily on Suansu and Chinese military philosophy. All warfare is based on deception, it quotes, establishing the intellectual framework that justifies ninja methods. The text explains that in warfare, intelligence determines victory more surely than strength. It argues that ninja serve essential military functions that conventional forces cannot fulfill. This philosophical section is important. It demonstrates that ninja weren't thoughtless practitioners of tricks, but strategists who understood the theoretical basis for their work. They had a comprehensive worldview about warfare, intelligence, and covert operations. The manual justifies ninja methods within frameworks that would be comprehensible to educated audiences attempting to defend the profession's honor despite its unconventional methods. The Bansanukai then covers Ino-Inyan philosophy and astronomical knowledge. Historical ninja used careful observation of natural phenomena for practical purposes. Weather prediction, determining direction, calculating time. The manual records these techniques, explaining how to read the stars, predict weather from natural signs, and use understanding of natural cycles for operational planning. Some content seems more mystical than practical, reflecting the 17th century's understanding of natural philosophy. Extensive sections cover personnel management, how to organize ninja teams, select operatives for specific roles, assess capabilities, and maintain security within organizations. These reveal sophisticated understanding of human resources. The Bansanukai discusses what qualities fit different mission types, how to evaluate reliability, and how to structure groups for maximum effectiveness while maintaining operational security. The intelligence gathering sections are particularly detailed, distinguishing between different intelligence types, strategic, long-term enemy capabilities and intentions, operational, current military activities, and tactical immediate battlefield information. Different methods suit different intelligence needs. The manual describes techniques for collecting information, evaluating source reliability, and transmitting intelligence securely. Infiltration techniques receive comprehensive coverage. The text describes climbing methods using various tools and techniques, approaches for reaching secured locations undetected, and methods for bypassing security measures. These sections are notably practical and realistic. There's no magic, just careful description of techniques requiring training and practice. The Bansanukai's combat sections are surprisingly modest, reinforcing that ninja were not primarily fighters. Combat is presented as last resort when covert methods fail. The manual covers unarmed fighting, weapon usage, and combat in various environments, but always emphasizing that avoiding combat is preferable to winning it. Tools and equipment receive detailed treatment. The manual describes construction and use of climbing aids, entry tools, weapons, signaling devices, and disguise materials. Many descriptions are detailed enough that someone with appropriate skills could recreate the tools from the manual's instructions. Perhaps most fascinating are the sections on pyrotechnics and explosives added to the ninja repertoire after gunpowder reached Japan. The Bansanukai provides formulas for different explosive and incendiary mixtures, methods for creating smoke for concealment, fire-starting techniques for sabotage, and signal devices using fire and explosives. This shows ninja as adaptive professionals who incorporated new technologies as they became available. Water techniques, swimming skills, horse handling, and various specialized knowledge fill additional volumes. The Bansanukai is remarkably comprehensive, attempting to record nearly everything a ninja might need to know. Yet some things are notably absent. There are no references to supernatural abilities, no claims of magical powers, no impossible techniques. This is a practical manual for skilled professionals, not a grimoire of mystical secrets. The Bansanukai includes historical case studies, examples of actual ninja operations during the Sengoku period, These examples illustrate how techniques were applied in practice, providing context for understanding the manual's methods. They also demonstrate Fujibayashi's access to historical records and oral traditions from multiple families. But the Bansen Shukai has limitations as historical source. It was written after the operational period ended, potentially incorporating some romanticization or reflecting incomplete understanding as knowledge degraded. It represents one person's synthesis and organization of multiple traditions. Different families might have had different techniques, and it was written partly for posterity, possibly omitting certain information considered too sensitive or presenting material in ways acceptable to non-ninja readers. Other ninja texts provide additional perspectives. The Shini, written in 1681 by Notori Masatake from Ki Province, focuses more on philosophy and strategy than technical details. It emphasizes mental and psychological aspects of ninja work, how to think strategically, maintain proper mindset, and understand covert operations' psychological dimensions. The Shini presents ninja work as form of service, requiring moral integrity, despite questionable methods drawing on Buddhist and Taoist concepts to create ethical framework. Various family scrolls and documents, typically shorter and more specialized than comprehensive manuals, preserved specific family traditions. Many of these remain private, held by descendant families who guard them as family treasures. Occasionally, scholars gain access, adding pieces to the puzzle of ninja history. These historical manuals are invaluable because they were written by practitioners or their immediate descendants. They represent insider knowledge rather than outside observations. While we must read them critically, recognizing they might contain errors, omissions, or biases, they are best sources for understanding what ninja actually did versus what legends claimed. The manuals reveal several important truths. Ninja possessed systematic knowledge, organized through formal training. They understood their work had theoretical foundations in military philosophy. Their techniques were practical and achievable, not supernatural. They operated within larger strategic contexts, not as independent rogues. And they developed comprehensive capabilities across multiple domains, not just specializing narrowly. In the 20th century, as Japan rediscovered its ninja heritage, these historical manuals became crucial resources. Scholars used them to reconstruct historical ninja practice. Martial artists drew on them to develop modern jutsu schools. Cultural sites used them to create educational materials. The manuals became bridges connecting modern understanding to historical reality. But accessing these texts required careful work. They were written in classical Chinese or archaic Japanese, requiring specialized linguistic knowledge. They assumed readers had context that modern audiences lack, and they needed to be distinguished from later fraudulent texts. Commercial productions, claiming to be ancient secrets, but actually modern inventions. The Bansen and other authentic historical manuals show us that behind the legends were real people with systematic knowledge using practical methods. They couldn't turn invisible or walk on water, but they could climb impressively, gather intelligence skillfully, and operate covertly effectively. They weren't supernatural, but they were extraordinary. The product of perhaps the most comprehensive covert operations training system developed in the pre-modern world. As Japan modernized in the late 19th and 20th centuries, these texts helped a new generation understand what their ancestors had been. And as we'll explore next, that rediscovery created modern movements claiming ninja heritage. Sometimes accurately, sometimes not. Let us examine how Japan rediscovered the ninja. Chapter 10. Rising from Shadows. The Modern Ninja Revival. The year is 1910. Japan has transformed dramatically from the isolated feudal nation of the Tokugawa period. The major restoration of 1868 modernized the country with remarkable speed. Railroads cross the islands. Factories produce modern goods. The military uses Western weapons and organization. Japan has defeated China in War 1895 and astonished the world by defeating Russia in 1905, becoming the first Asian nation to defeat a European power in modern times. In this context of modernization and national pride, Japanese scholars begin looking backward, studying their nation's history as systematically. Among the subjects attracting interest is the ninja, those mysterious figures from the Civil War period who had faded into legend. Early 20th century historians approached ninja as legitimate historical subject. They examined surviving documents, search provincial archives, interview elderly people whose grandparents might have known actual ninja. This research establishes that ninja were real historical profession, not pure legend. Contemporary documents from the Sengoku period mention them. Records show payments to ninja operatives. Some families can demonstrate historical connections to known ninja clans. This scholarly work is important because it separates historical reality from theatrical invention. Yes, kabuki theater portrayed ninja with supernatural powers. Yes, popular novels depicted impossible feats. But underlying these legends were real people who did real things using practical methods. The scholars worked to recover that historical truth in Iga and Koga, the old ninja heartlands. This research creates local pride and economic opportunity. These provinces had been backwaters in the modern era, mountainous agricultural, lacking the industry driving Japan's growth. But they had unique heritage. They had been homeland of the legendary ninja. Why not develop the heritage as cultural and tourist attraction? Iga Ueno, now simply Iga, develops ninja-themed attractions. Local museums display historical artifacts, weapons, tools, documents from ninja families. Ninja houses are created featuring hidden doors, escape routes, and architectural elements supposedly used for defense and deception. These attractions mix genuine history with theatrical elements, prioritizing entertainment, but also providing education. Annual festivals celebrate ninja heritage with demonstrations, competitions, and performances. These events attract tourists, provide economic benefits, and create incentives for preserving historical knowledge and sites. Young people from Iga and Koga gain pride in their heritage. Their ancestors weren't just farmers, but legendary warriors who influenced history. But this tourism creates tension between historical accuracy and commercial appeal. Tourists expect to see ninja performing spectacular feats, jumping incredible heights, throwing shuriken with perfect accuracy, demonstrating impossible techniques. Providing these expectations maintains commercial success, but risks perpetuating myths rather than historical truth. And Koga navigate this tension with mixed results. Some presentations are historically responsible, others more theatrical. The most significant aspect of ninja's modern revival is the martial arts dimension. Some families claiming descent from historical ninja clans maintain martial traditions through the Magi period and beyond. These schools teach techniques they claim were passed through family lineages preserved as family secrets despite ninja's decline. The authenticity of these claims is debated. Some families may represent genuine transmission of knowledge. Others might be reconstructions or modern creations presented as ancient traditions. Determining which is difficult. Ninja deliberately obscured their knowledge, and the century and a half of PCM before modern revival saw much knowledge lost. Even families with genuine historical connections might have incomplete or transformed understanding of original techniques. Takamatsu Toshitsugu 1887 to 1972 becomes perhaps the most influential figure in modern jutsu revival. Takamatsu claimed to have studied under masters of several traditional schools, receiving teachings that survived as family secrets. He systematized this knowledge, making it more accessible and teaching students who would spread it further. Takamatsu's historical claims are controversial among scholars. Some question whether all the traditions he claimed to represent actually existed as described. Documentary evidence for some of his claimed lineages is limited or absent. However, Takamatsu clearly possessed extensive martial arts knowledge from various sources, and he created systems that proved influential regardless of precise historical accuracy of his claims. Hatsumi Masaki, born 1931, Takamatsu's most famous student, founded the Bujinkan organization, teaching what he called ninjutsu, based on 9 traditional schools, allegedly preserved by Takamatsu. The Bujinkan grew internationally, with schools worldwide teaching Hatsumi's system. It became the largest organization teaching jutsu, introducing hundreds of thousands of people to ninja-related martial arts. Hatsumi's ninjutsu incorporates techniques from multiple martial traditions emphasizing adaptability, natural movement, and practical self-defense. Whether it accurately represents historical ninja practices is debated among historians and martial artists. Some see it as valid continuation of ninja traditions adapted for modern context. Others view it as modern martial art drawing inspiration from ninja concepts, but not maintaining direct lineage to historical practice. Various other schools and organizations teach systems they call ninjutsu or claim connection to ninja traditions. These range from schools emphasizing historical reconstruction to systems focused on practical modern self-defense, using ninja concepts, to theatrical ninja martial arts for entertainment. The diversity creates confusion about what authentic ninjutsu is. Academic study of ninja continues in modern Japan. Universities include ninja history in programs examining Japan's feudal period. Scholars use rigorous historical methods to analyze documentary evidence and reconstruct what historical ninja actually did versus what legends claim. This scholarship improves understanding significantly. Though much remains uncertain due to limited sources and historical ninjas' deliberate secrecy, modern Japanese popular culture embraces ninja enthusiastically. Novels, films, television series, manga, comics, and anime animation featuring ninja characters appear constantly. These range from serious historical fiction, attempting accuracy, to fantasy adventures, using ninja in completely unrealistic contexts. Series like NAR introduce ninja to new generations, though in fantastical settings, far from historical reality. Video games created by Japanese developers feature ninja prominently. From historical games attempting authenticity to fantasy games using ninja as character classes with special abilities. Games like Sekiro, Tennu, and countless others allow players to experience being ninja, however unrealistically. The Japanese government recognizes ninja as culturally significant element of national heritage worth preserving and promoting. Ninja history receives recognition as cultural asset. Tourism agencies promote ninja heritage as attraction for domestic and international visitors. Ninja becomes part of Japan's global brand alongside samurai, geisha, and other distinctive cultural elements. But this official recognition raises questions about authenticity and commercialization. Is ninja heritage being genuinely preserved or just exploited commercially? Are presentations historically responsible or mainly theatrical? Do modern jutsu schools represent valid tradition or modern invention? These debates continue among historians, martial artists, and cultural preservationists. For most Japanese people today, ninja exist in multiple forms simultaneously. As historical figures studied in school, as cultural symbols representing Japanese tradition, as entertainment characters in various media, and as tourist attractions in places like Iga and Koga. These versions coexist, serving different purposes and appealing to different interests. The modern revival ensured that ninja didn't fade completely into history. Whether through tourism, martial arts, scholarship, or popular culture, ninja remained present in contemporary Japanese society. But the relationship between these modern manifestations and historical reality is complex, contested, and often unclear. The shadow warriors returned, but they returned transformed, shaped as much by modern needs and imaginations as by historical facts. And as Japan rediscovered its ninja heritage, the West was discovering ninja too, and that discovery would transform ninja from Japanese cultural phenomenon into global icons. Let us explore how Hollywood and Western popular culture discovered ninja and what they made of them. Chapter 11. Ninja Go West. Hollywood Shadow Warriors. James Bond stands on a rooftop in Japan, surrounded by dozens of warriors dressed entirely in black, carrying exotic weapons. This is 1967. The film is You Only Live Twice. And for millions of Western viewers worldwide, this is their first encounter with ninja. The portrayal was Hollywood fantasy more than historical reality. The black outfits, the dramatic combat, the exotic mystique. But it introduced ninja to global audiences who had never heard of them. Suddenly, people from London to Los Angeles to Lagos knew that Japan had produced mysterious warriors called ninja, who used stealth and deception. But ninja didn't immediately become Western obsession. That would take another decade and specific cultural circumstances. The 1970s saw growing Western interest in Asian martial arts, driven partly by Bruce Lee films. Americans and Europeans became fascinated with karate, kung fu, and other Asian fighting systems. When the 1980s arrived, this martial arts enthusiasm encountered ninja legends and explosion occurred. The 1980s ninja boom began with a 1981 film, Enter the Ninja, produced by Canon Films and starring Sho Kosugi. This low-budget action movie featured ninja using spectacular martial arts, throwing shuriken with perfect accuracy, and demonstrating mysterious techniques. It was not historically accurate. It was not high cinema, but it was enormously successful, spawning immediate sequels and countless imitators. Suddenly, ninja were everywhere in Western popular culture. Dozens of films appeared featuring ninja protagonists or villains. These ranged from serious martial arts films attempting cultural authenticity to campy B-movies with absurd plots and cheap effects. Quality varied enormously, but quantity was staggering. Common elements appeared across these films. Ninja as nearly superhuman warriors, mystical training and exotic knowledge, spectacular acrobatic combat, exotic weapons used with deadly accuracy, black costumes and masked faces, and often conflicts between good ninja and evil ninja organizations. Historical accuracy was minimal. These films created composite ninja drawing on Japanese cultural elements, various martial arts, and Hollywood imagination. The American Ninja film series exemplified a particular trope: the Western protagonist who learns ninjutsu, often surpassing native Japanese practitioners. This reflected Western audience desire for relatable heroes, but sometimes reinforced problematic white savior narratives. The film suggested that with proper training, anyone, particularly white Americans, could master ninja arts, democratizing, but also somewhat appropriating Japanese culture. Television joined the boom. Various shows incorporated ninja characters or themes. The Master, 1984, though short-lived, featured an aging ninja master training a new generation. It represented network television's attempt to capitalize on ninja popularity. Though it never achieved major success, but the most influential ninja television property wasn't a conventional action show. It was an animated series about mutant turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1987 to 1996, thus based on comic books, became a global phenomenon. These characters, for turtles mutated by radioactive waste and trained in jutsu by a mutant rat, bore essentially no relationship to historical ninja. Yet they introduced ninja concepts to children worldwide. The turtles established ninja as cool, heroic, and associated with martial arts excellence, even in wildly fantastical contexts. For an entire generation, ninja first meant cartoon turtles before anything Japanese or historical. This was cultural transformation at massive scale, taking Japanese concept and reimagining it completely through Western, specifically American cultural lens. Video games became major venues for ninja content. Ninja Gaiden, 1988 featured ninja protagonist fighting through levels using acrobatic moves and exotic weapons. Shinobi 1987 offered similar action-focused gameplay. These games established ninja as excellent video game protagonists. Their diverse capabilities, combat, stealth, acrobatics, translated well to interactive entertainment. Later games like Tennu Stealth Assassins 1998 emphasized realistic ninja tactics, avoiding detection, using shadows, gathering intelligence. This showed ninja could work in serious, less theatrical contexts, influencing later stealth games, like the Metal Gear series. The stealth game genre owes significant debt to ninja concepts. Literature incorporated ninja extensively. Eric Van Lebader's The Ninja 1980 and sequels combined ninja themes with thriller elements, reaching wide audiences despite cultural inaccuracies. Numerous other novels featured ninja characters across various genres. Contemporary thrillers, fantasy, science fiction, and cyberpunk fiction incorporating ninja aesthetics. Comic books from major publishers created ninja characters and storylines. Marvel Comics' The Hand, an evil ninja organization, became recurring antagonists. Various superheroes encountered ninja or used ninjutsu-inspired techniques. Independent comics also featured ninja prominently, ranging from serious martial arts stories to humorous parodies. Tabletop role-playing games like Dungeons & Dragons added ninja-like classes, making ninja playable options in fantasy games. This allowed players to inhabit ninja characters, making choices about skills and strategies. Role-playing games helped normalize ninja as fantasy archetype alongside wizards, warriors, and rogues. Through these various media, Western culture developed a composite ninja stereotype, visually defined by all-black costume, mask covering lower face, carrying multiple exotic weapons, katana, shuriken, nunchaku, blow guns, grappling hooks. Characterologically defined as possessing superhuman speed and agility, ability to disappear or turn invisible, perfect accuracy with throwing weapons, climbing any surface, and hand-to-hand combat mastery. Narratively defined as disciplined, loyal, or mercenary. Stoic, mysterious, often possessing mystical knowledge or powers, and honorable despite using dishonorable methods. This stereotype mixed historical elements with theatrical invention, Japanese cultural elements with Western imagination, and various martial arts traditions into composite ninja that bore limited resemblance to historical reality, but served Western storytelling needs. Ninja's Western popularity had several consequences. It contributed to broader Western interest in Asian martial arts, supporting growth of martial arts schools, teaching various styles. For many Westerners, ninja were entry point to broader interest in Japanese culture, leading some to study Japanese history, language, and traditions more deeply. Unfortunately, ninja popularity sometimes reinforced problematic stereotypes about Asian mysticism, inscrutability, and exoticism. The mystical East tropes weren't always respectful or accurate. Western portrayals sometimes treated Japanese culture as exotic curiosity rather than complex reality. Commercially, ninja-themed products generated substantial revenue. Toys, costumes, weapon replicas, games, books, and films created profitable market. Ninja became valuable brand. Companies used ninja imagery in marketing for products having nothing to do with Japan or martial arts. The concept itself had commercial power. Linguistically, ninja entered English as common word used metaphorically. Ninja warrior, ninja skills, code ninja, marketing ninja. The term proliferated, generally meaning expertise, stealth, or mysterious effectiveness. The word's meaning expanded far beyond its historical origins. Western martial arts schools began teaching ninjutsu. Some were branches of Japanese schools, like Bujinkan's international expansion. Others were Western creations, sometimes claiming historical lineages, sometimes acknowledging they were modern adaptations. Quality and authenticity varied enormously from serious martial arts based on careful research to theatrical ninja training for entertainment. By the 1990s, the initial boom had subsided, but ninja remained culturally embedded. They continued appearing in various media, though less ubiquitously than during the 1980s peak. New properties like the anime Naruto 1999 to 2014 introduced ninja to new generations, though in fantastical contexts quite different from anything historical. In contemporary Western culture, ninja remain recognized icons. Ninja is universally understood concept even among people with no deep knowledge of ninja history or Japanese culture. References to ninja work across audiences because the basic concept, stealthy warrior using unconventional tactics, is culturally legible. But this Western ninja is quite different from historical ninja or even from how modern Japan understands them. The Western ninja is primarily an action hero, spectacular fighter, acrobatic performer, user of exotic weapons. The historical ninja was primarily intelligence operative, careful gatherer of information, disguised infiltrator, patient observer. The disconnect between Western popular culture ninja and historical reality is profound. This raises important questions about cultural appropriation and representation. Did Western use of ninja constitute respectful engagement with Japanese culture or exploitation of exotic imagery without true understanding? How much did Hollywood ninja distort perceptions of both historical ninja and contemporary Japanese culture? Did Western portrayals reinforce problematic Oriental mysticism stereotypes? These questions have no simple answers. Western engagement with ninja has been both appreciative and exploitative, both respectful and stereotypical, both educational and distorting. Like much cross-cultural exchange, it's complicated, containing both problematic elements and genuine interest and respect. What's clear is that through Western popular culture, ninja became global icons recognized worldwide. The shadow warriors of feudal Japan became international symbols familiar to billions of people. This globalization transformed ninja from historical Japanese profession to universal cultural archetype. As our comprehensive journey through ninja history approaches its conclusion, let us now carefully separate fact from fiction, understanding exactly what was real versus what was legend, and considering the ninja's enduring legacy. Chapter 12. Truth and Shadow. The Final Accounting. We've traveled a long journey together from the mountains of medieval Japan through centuries of history, legend, and modern revival. Now, as our comprehensive story concludes, let us carefully separate historical fact from legendary fiction, understanding what ninja actually were versus what myths claimed. The costume question myth. Ninja wore distinctive all-black outfits with masks, hoods, and special boots, immediately recognizable as ninja attire. Reality. Ninja typically wore ordinary clothing appropriate to whatever disguise they used. When conducting night operations, they favored dark blue or dark brown, colors that disappeared better in shadows than pure black. The iconic all-black ninja suit came from Japanese theater conventions, not historical practice. Real ninja prioritized blending and over-distinctive appearance. The supernatural powers myth. Myth. Ninja could turn invisible, walk on water, disappear in puffs of smoke, fly short distances, and perform other superhuman feats through mystical training or supernatural gifts. Reality ninja used practical stealth techniques, moving quietly, using darkness and cover, creating diversions, but had no supernatural powers. The mystique surrounding them combined deliberate psychological warfare, creating fear through mysterious methods, theatrical invention, stage magic presented as real capability, and later mythologization as real knowledge faded and imagination filled gaps. They were extraordinary through training, but not superhuman through magic. The assassination emphasis myth. Ninja were primarily assassins trained specifically to kill with spectacular martial arts or exotic poisons. Reality. Ninja were primarily intelligence operatives. Most missions involved gathering information, conducting reconnaissance, sabotage, or spreading disinformation, not killing. Combat skills were important, but represented a small portion of training and activities. When elimination was necessary, ninja preferred indirect methods, poison, fire, sabotage, over risky direct combat. The emphasis on assassination in popular culture dramatically misrepresents historical priorities. The weapons mythology myth. Ninja used highly specialized exotic weapons, fundamentally different from samurai arms, including deadly accurate shuriken, hidden spring-loaded blades, and numerous unique implements. Reality ninja used many weapons common to all Japanese warriors: swords, spears, bows, daggers. They selected for practicality and concealability rather than status. Specialized tools existed, but were mainly for infiltration, climbing aids, lockpicks rather than combat. Shuriken were real, but were harassment weapons, not primary arms, and throwing accuracy was limited. The exotic weapons of movies largely didn't exist or were theatrical inventions. The organization myth. Ninja belonged to a single ancient secret organization or mysterious unified order spanning generations, led by shadowy masters. Reality ninja were organized into family-based groups in specific regions, particularly Iga and Koga. They worked as professional specialists hired by various daimyo, not as independent secret societies. Organization was pragmatic and regional based on family lineages and local confederations, not mystically ancient or unified under central authority. The training myth ninja training was mystical and supernatural, teaching secret techniques unavailable to others, often involving impossible physical feats and mental powers taught in hidden mountain temples. Reality ninja training was comprehensive and rigorous, but entirely practical. It developed skills through repeated practice, study, and experience. Physical conditioning, martial arts, stealth techniques, intelligence methods, survival skills, disguise, and psychological understanding. Training was demanding and systematic, but not magical. The supposed mystical aspects like Kujan hand seals were practical tools, mnemonic devices, and mental focusing techniques, not supernatural powers. Social status myth. Ninja were either mysterious outcasts operating outside normal society or sometimes depicted as peasants who became warriors through ninja training. Reality. Ninja were primarily lower-ranking samurai, jisamurai from specific regions. They had legitimate social positions, owned land, and were part of local power structures. They operated covertly when missions required, but weren't social outcasts. Their ambiguous status came from their methods, which violated samurai honor codes rather than their origins. They occupied uncomfortable middle position, warrior class, but not respected as true samurai. Individual versus collective. Myth. Ninja typically worked alone as solitary infiltrators and assassins, making their way through enemy territory without support. Reality. Ninja usually worked in teams with clear organization and extensive support networks. Successful operations required intelligence networks gathering information, local support, providing resources, and coordinated activities. The lone ninja assassin is largely fictional. Real ninja were nodes in larger systems providing the capabilities that made individual operations possible. Female ninja myth. Kunoichi were primarily seductive assassins using sexuality as their main weapon, often depicted in revealing costumes as exotic temptresses. Reality. Female operatives existed and did use gender-specific approaches, infiltrating households as servants, gathering intelligence from women's spaces inaccessible to men, and sometimes using romantic relationships strategically. But they were primarily intelligence gatherers, not exotic seductresses. Their work was practical espionage, not sexual spectacle. Sexuality was one tool among many, used when appropriate, but not their defining characteristic. What was true? Having addressed major myths, what can we confidently say about historical ninja? They existed. Ninja were real historical profession documented in contemporary records employed by major daimon and influential in feudal Japanese warfare. Their historical reality is established beyond reasonable doubt. They possessed specialized skills. Through systematic training begun in childhood, they developed capabilities in infiltration, intelligence gathering, stealth, survival, and covert operations that exceeded normal warriors' abilities. They had geographic concentration. Ninja culture developed particularly strongly in Ie and Koga provinces, with these mountainous regions producing the most famous ninja and most developed traditions. They worked professionally. They operated as hired specialists selling services to various daimon and conducting missions as skilled professionals, not as amateurs or casual irregulars. They used practical methods. Their techniques were sophisticated applications of human psychology, physical training, and tactical thinking. Not supernatural, but highly effective. Through comprehensive preparation and skilled execution, they had comprehensive training. Education covered martial arts, medicine, psychology, survival, navigation, intelligence, analysis, and specialized knowledge, creating well-rounded operatives capable of adapting to various missions. They influenced history. They affected major events, providing intelligence that informed strategic decisions and conducting operations that changed battle outcomes and political situations. They declined with peace. They gradually disappeared as active profession when the Tokugawa unified Japan and established lasting peace, eliminating the warfare that had made them necessary and valuable. They became legends. As real knowledge faded, mythologization transformed them from skilled professionals into supernatural figures, creating legends that eventually overshadowed historical reality. The enduring legacy. Despite disappearing as active professions centuries ago, ninja left lasting impacts. Military and intelligence services worldwide adopted principles pioneered by ninja, emphasizing intelligence before action, using special operations forces for missions conventional forces cannot accomplish, employing psychological operations and propaganda, and practicing unconventional warfare. Modern special forces, Navy SEALs, SAS, Spetsnaz, etc., are functional descendants of ninja, conducting covert missions, requiring specialized skills. Martial arts called ninjutsu exist worldwide, drawing on or claiming inspiration from ninja traditions. Whether these accurately preserve historical techniques is debated, but they provide physical training, mental discipline, and philosophical teaching to thousands of practitioners. Ninja became powerful cultural symbols representing stealth, specialized expertise, mysterious effectiveness, Japanese cultural uniqueness, and the power of intelligence over brute force. The word ninja entered global vocabulary as metaphor. Popular culture has been permanently influenced by ninja, who appear constantly in films, games, books, and other media. They established archetypes and tropes that continue in new contexts. Scholarly study continues with historians working to understand this aspect of military history better. Museums, academic programs, and research projects preserve and analyze ninja history. Tourism in regions like Iga and Koga is supported by ninja heritage, providing economic benefits while preserving historical sites and traditions. Why ninja fascinate? What makes ninja enduringly fascinating across cultures and centuries? They represent underdog triumph, succeeding through cunning rather than power, appealing to anyone feeling disadvantaged in direct confrontation. They embody hope that intelligence and skill can overcome superior force. Their mystery and secrecy create intrigue and invite imagination. The deliberate mysteriousness of ninja operations makes them perfect subjects for speculation and storytelling. For non-Japanese, they represent exotic appeal, different from Western military traditions, and therefore fascinating cultural other. They fulfill competence fantasies, mastering every relevant skill prepared for any situation effective in any context. This comprehensive mastery appeals to desires for self-sufficiency and capability. Their moral ambiguity creates dramatic interest, using questionable methods for theoretically justified ends, operating in moral gray areas that raise philosophical questions without easy answers. Unlike purely fictional characters, they have historical basis, adding weight and credibility to stories about them. Their actual existence makes legends more compelling. They adapt to various genres and contexts: historical drama, fantasy, science fiction, comedy, children's entertainment, ensuring continued relevance across different audiences and time periods. Conclusion of the truth. The shadow warriors of feudal Japan were remarkable but human, skilled through training rather than supernatural, effective through practical methods rather than magic, influential through intelligence rather than force. Their story demonstrates human capability to develop specialized expertise through systematic training and organization. Legendary ninja, the superhuman warriors with magical powers, are different creatures born from historical profession but transformed by entertainment needs, cultural mythologization, and human fascination with mystery and power. Both versions have value. Historical ninja teach us about actual human achievement, specific time and place in Japanese history, and development of sophisticated covert operations. Legendary ninja entertain us, inspire us, and provide frameworks for exploring themes of skill, secrecy, and moral ambiguity. The challenge and opportunity is distinguishing between them, appreciating legends while respecting history, enjoying fiction while acknowledging fact, being fascinated by mystery while seeking truth. Historical ninja deserve accurate understanding. Cultural ninja deserve appreciation as valid artistic creations. As we conclude our comprehensive journey, we can appreciate both the historical shadow warriors who operated in feudal Japan and the cultural icons they became. We can respect what they were while enjoying what legends made them. The ninja's complete story, from mountain provinces through civil wars to modern global culture, is finally told. Conclusion. The immortal shadow. Our long journey ends where it began, in shadows. But these are different shadows now. Not the historical darkness, where actual ninja operated, but the cultural shadows they cast across centuries and around the world. We've traced ninja from possible origins in ancient Japanese warfare traditions through their flowering in the Sengoku period's chaos. We've walked the mountain paths of Iga and Koga, understanding how geography and political circumstances created conditions for ninja culture. We've watched children train from early ages, developing extraordinary capabilities through systematic education. We've examined their actual tools and weapons, understanding these were practical implements rather than magical artifacts. We've learned their techniques of disguise and psychological manipulation, seeing how mastering human nature was as important as physical skills. We've witnessed historical missions where ninja influenced major events, changing outcomes through intelligence and covert operations. We've traced their decline as Tokugawa peace eliminated the warfare that employed them, watching skilled professionals reduced to ceremonial guards and then to memories. We've seen how those memories transformed into legends, how practical techniques became supernatural powers, how historical figures became mythical heroes. We followed ninjas' modern rediscovery in Japan and their explosive popularity in Western culture, understanding how they became global icons recognized worldwide. And we've carefully separated fact from fiction, distinguishing between what ninja actually were and what legends claimed. Several truths emerge from this comprehensive examination. First, ninja were real people responding to real historical circumstances. They weren't supernatural beings or fictional inventions, but professional specialists who developed systematic capabilities for covert operations. Understanding their historical reality enriches rather than diminishes their story. They achieved remarkable things through human means, which is more impressive than fictional magic. Second, ninja's transformation from history to legend to global phenomenon illustrates how cultural transmission works. Stories evolve as they pass between cultures and across time. Historical figures become vehicles for cultural meanings and psychological needs. The ninja that the world knows today is product of this evolution, simultaneously connected to and distant from historical origins. Third, ninja represent enduring aspects of human conflict and culture. The tension between direct confrontation and indirect action, between honor and effectiveness, between conventional warfare and unconventional tactics. These remain relevant. Modern special operations forces continue missions ninja pioneered. Intelligence agencies use techniques ninja developed. The principles underlying ninjas' work transcend their specific historical context. Fourth, the ninja story reminds us that even the most skilled professions exist because circumstances require them. When those circumstances change, professions disappear. No matter how effective they were, ninja weren't defeated. They were made obsolete by peace. Their decline teaches us that success can eliminate the conditions that made success necessary. Fifth, cultural phenomena often tell us as much about those interpreting them as about original subjects. Western ninja reveals Western fascinations and anxieties, desires for exotic knowledge, fantasies of competence and mastery, concerns about technology versus tradition. Japanese rediscovery of ninja reflects modern Japan's relationship with its past, pride and unique heritage, concern about preserving traditions, tension between commercialization and authentic preservation. The ninja's legacy continues evolving. New films and games appear constantly, reinterpreting ninja for contemporary audiences. Scholars continue researching, recovering historical knowledge, and correcting misconceptions. Martial artists continue teaching jutsu, adapting historical techniques or inspired innovations from modern practitioners. Tourists continue visiting EGA and Koga, supporting local economies through cultural heritage. For most people worldwide, ninja means something specific. Stealthy warrior, using unconventional methods. Skilled specialist with mysterious capabilities. Japanese cultural icon representing unique traditions. These meanings have value even if historically inaccurate. Cultural symbols don't require historical accuracy to serve cultural functions. But for those interested in history, the real ninja deserve understanding on their own terms, not as shadows of legends, but as people who lived, trained, and operated in specific times and places. They were lower-ranking samurai from mountainous provinces who developed specialized skills through systematic training, worked as professional covert operatives for various employers, influenced their nation's history through intelligence and infiltration, and ultimately disappeared when peace eliminated their profession. They were extraordinary without being supernatural, skilled without being superhuman, influential without being legendary. Though legends, they became somewhere in quiet corners of Japan. Descendants of ninja families maintain traditions. In museums, artifacts survive. In archives, documents record their missions. In martial arts schools worldwide, students practice techniques claiming ninja heritage. In films and games and books, Characters called ninja continue appearing. The shadow warriors persist in multiple forms. Simultaneously, historical subjects, cultural symbols, and entertainment characters. The once and future ninja, once real, future legendary, inhabit the fascinating space between history and myth, fact and fiction, documentation and imagination. They were real enough to leave evidence, mysterious enough to inspire speculation, significant enough to influence history, and captivating enough to command global attention centuries after their profession ended. As our comprehensive journey concludes, the ninja remain what they always were: shadows, but shadows that teach us, entertain us, inspire us. Shadows that shaped history and continue shaping culture. Shadows that refuse to fade however much light we shine upon them. The complete history of ninja, from mountain origins, through historical operations, to legendary transformation, to global phenomenon, is told. But the story itself never truly ends. As long as humans tell stories, practice martial arts, conduct covert operations, or seek to understand the past, ninja will persist. The shadow warriors have passed from history into immortality. Their physical forms are gone. Their techniques mostly lost. Their operational period ended centuries ago. But their legacy lives in every special operations soldier gathering intelligence behind enemy lines. Every intelligence analyst piecing together fragments to understand threats. Every martial artist training systematically to develop extraordinary capabilities. Every filmmaker exploring themes of honor and effectiveness. Every scholar working to understand the past accurately despite limited sources. The ninja were extraordinary people who did extraordinary things through entirely human means. They were products of specific circumstances who transcended those circumstances to become universal symbols. They were Japanese specialists who became global icons. They were historical professionals who became legendary warriors. From EGA's mountains to Hollywood screens. From feudal Japan to modern world. From shadow to legend to lasting cultural presence. This has been the complete history of ninja. The journey ends. The shadows remain.